like the skills that you learn in that push translate to a lot of other endgame fights, I feel like.
Definitely,
the stuns are really interesting. At the time, you used to have to entangle golems. I never had to font, but I can imagine fonting arrows is probably pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, that took care of like the first couple of years of farming it, but then after that, it's like, it was just the money, really, because...
You turn it into like a spreadsheet.
I mean, ultimately what it comes down to is like, Telos is probably just the most dynamic boss in the game.
Yeah.
In a game where everything about PvM is really static.
It's a boss where you can use any style you want at this point, at least.
Yeah.
The fight changes drastically based on how much effort and knowledge you put into it. I also really like just kind of the methodology of where each phase is its own kind of mechanic, and then in the last phase, everything comes together really interestingly.
Mm-hmm.
Even if P5 is also kind of solved at this point, like I think it's a neat way to bring it all together. So I don't know. I just think as a whole fight, it's the most cohesive.
I never really liked it that much. I'm gonna be completely honest, man. I at some point on my Iron Man, I got to the situation where you needed to do Telos because it had all the best gear. You know, it had an SGB, it had a ZGS, and well, I mean, sauce, yeah, like,
yeah.
And I was like, well, shit, if I'm gonna do it on my Iron Man, I have to get good at it on the main. So I pushed myself to like 4K for that endeavor, so I could like not die all the time on my Iron, and it would be too much of a pain in the butt to get the stuff on the Iron Man. But I don't know. I don't really like solo fights that much, I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, a massive thing for me too was the risk factor. Like being able to risk your drops and continue your streak and stuff was like super fun. Like I actually did a lot of streaking in my early days of Telos.
Yeah,
I actually got...
I love streaking.
I do too.
I claimed on
Like-
I've never streaked a drop at Telos.
It's
That's why you
so
don't like
fun.
Telos. You
Like-
don't understand the rush
Yeah.
of like just having that chest that you're risking, and it's like
I've never had the internet to like streak the way that Chris does, but I love it, and I hope I get to do it at my new
ever
apartment
done a
with
200
my
kill streak,
better
Ryan?
internet.
not at Telos I haven't,
Okay, fair.
but
Glacier, right?
that's
You've
like
got a bunch.
that's one of my favorite moneymakers is just the Glacier run.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that boss was hell boring, man, but that's fair enough.
Have you don't have a Bolg and Bic arrows.
Okay, you're right.
It's like-
I only did it on release a bit, you know?
The Bic
Are
arrows
those the
are
poison ones?
yeah. So what'll happen is you get to 400 stacks. It's such a long boss fight at like 2K in rage, and then your poison is doing 400k damage per minute.
Is it even good at 2K in range?
It's disgusting.
Like, no, I mean, like money-wise. Like, is
GP wise, it's worse than a lot of things, but it's still like 100 mil an hour average, something like that.
Commons are like all outs, right?
Yeah, no, like every 200 kill streak, you get like 800 mil of commons.
Fucking water.
So we have a fountain just turned on. That's very fun.
Isn't there a clip
uh,
of someone doing Glacier and it's just poison proc after poison proc after poison proc?
Yeah,
It's
no,
insane.
it's really fun. But I think going back to Telos, to me the interaction, like to me P5 was like a masterpiece because you've got the rocks that fall on a timer, you've got the insta kill that's based on how many times Telos autos you, and then you've got the beams and the virus being on different timers as well on the different golems. Like to me, it's very dynamic.
Yeah.
But the thing that kind of ruined Telos for me personally, I feel like it just kind of got out power crept. Because like you used to need to like really know how to stun it right and really know how to navigate the beams and clear the virus right. And now like you can literally do whatever you want. You can show up and you can really just brute force it because the HP hasn't scaled well. So to me, that's kind of why I've stopped enjoying it. But
There have been times where like I was on a streak and needed to like save a drop, and then like I like trolled the P5 entrance and just got stunned out by reds, and I just like threw an entangle, didn't even ult, and like still killed it for the insta kill.
yeah.
Which like would never have been the case, you know, pre-SOA, I guess.
I don't know if you guys have seen some of the new GOAT 2449
The no
rotations
cades,
for
yeah.
P5, but he'll do a no barricade P5.
Yeah, I want to try that, but I'm gonna be honest, I really do not want to like have to redo my Telos GM for PvME because no Cade P5 is the meta. That sounds really annoying.
It's just that's great. Like you can just drop it that fast. It just doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But
And it's relatively consistent too, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
It is,
I
yeah.
think you can't do it with reds. I don't know though.
I think as a should I go to the mic? I think as like a non-Teloser, looking at it from the outside perspective, it's such a learning curve for someone who's never been to Telos.
It is. That's definitely true.
Yeah, it's like a steep learning curve. I mean, I also agree with him a lot. Like, I don't like to solo PvM. I'd rather PvM with the boys. But I think if it was a situation where it was a duo, it's like, hell yeah, let me do this. Let me learn this boss, streak mechanics. Like, go ahead.
What?
Didn't you, when you were at Jagex one time, get to try Telos with like 4 people?
Okay, I wasn't at Jagex to do that. I was there for like
but you
ED1.
did do that.
But yeah, so what we did is in the dev console you can teleport around. So what we did is we had Saturn start a 4K Telos instance, and then Omid, Lit, Couchy, and I all just TP'd in. And it was actually really, I actually have a video of it. Yeah, that I still have it.
Was it relatively easy for like that time period? Or is it still like...
I think the kill at 4K with 5 people was slower than a GOAT 4K kill now. Genuinely. like probably not even close. Just because like hit chance was different back then.
Right,
Like,
right.
It was just, it
Did
was way
InGen
slower.
exist? So like, did you have the accuracy?
I don't think so. This would have been like 20, it would have been before ED1 came out.
It's a while.
So like,
When did ED1 come out?
2018. No, it was 2018. It was right
Yeah.
after Solak.
how did phase jumping work with 5 people? Saturn would jump and then we would just re-teleport to him every phase.
So you'd just be like stuck on the P1 platform until you teleported with like...
Yeah, so the
go
second he
on.
disappeared, we'd all just like, you just dev console, you just hit the up arrow and it copies whatever you last put in and then enter and then you're good to go.
That's funny.
It's kind of cool. You have to check the ins and outs a little bit of like the console and whatnot, and how you can, do cool tricks and stuff.
It was actually like, it worked pretty well as a group boss. I don't know, just slap up the
Did the
tentacle with the
golems like
boys.
target you guys at all, or were they all always on Saturn?
They targeted everyone. The only kind of messy part was the fonts. If anyone was outside of the font,
Everyone.
Saturn would get insta kills.
Really?
Yeah, so you could just leave the font. But
Was Telos just aggroed to closest person, or was it Voked? Do you remember?
I think you could voke him.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. It was really like buggy, obviously, but it was fun.
But yeah, it's like now you see people getting 4K with no issue on just crypt. It's yeah. But I feel like if I were to ever want to do it, I think I want to do the original way and just not use crypt. Because people who do use crypt now don't experience the same pain like you guys experience with
That's
those,
what the new
like
game is
smacks.
for, right?
I mean,
Like no one ever like is like, let me get all the old gear out and try it. You know, you just go.
Yeah,
with
but
what's new.
I wouldn't want to get 4K titles in crypt. It's like
I like.
maybe it's just a personal thing.
I don't hate Crypt Bloom, but definitely like something like Telos was made a lot more like accessible, which would be a positive. But it was also like at the high end rages, it definitely kind of cheapens the experience because you can make kind of infinite
I was gonna
mistakes.
ask, do you think it devalues people getting 4K because you have like this power creep that just is so easy to get it?
I think the value of things and things being devalued is kind of stupid because it's like the game will always get easier and easier. So it's like if someone duos hard mode, I'm not gonna be like, oh, well, I did it years ago, so your accomplishment is less impressive than mine. Like nobody fucking cares. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel about
That
it.
specific one, have you seen the duo hard mode sheet?
No, why?
I mean, I don't know if they still keep up with it,
They
but
still
when,
submit
I think I was like maybe like the 10th or 11th person to do a hard mode, and dude, the way they had notes, they were like, Couchy did it with right-clicking or like with the interface for spellbook swap, and you have to press 2. And
the
then it was
power
like,
creep
I
index,
think
yeah.
I got it like right after InGen, so my note was like InGen was in the game. Or
Yeah.
something.
No, my first one was like, went with someone who already had one, and that was in a
Oh yeah,
different
that was
slot.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
There was 2 colors. There was like color coded where if you
Yeah.
got it with someone who hadn't had one, and if you got it with someone who had one, and it was very fun.
Because you went back, right, and did it with a new person, right?
Yeah, so
I did too. I went and did one with Cash afterwards. I was like, no, I want the little.
I got my first one with Kaushi, and then I went and got one with Justin Wiztot, and they fucking gave him and us like one a funny color code because I had 1 kill with Kaushi prior to getting it with him.
It's just like, I don't know.
So they do track these things.
For
is what I'm
keeping
saying.
track of it, like that's fine. But
People
like,
just love gatekeeping their feats is really what it comes down to.
That sheet was like the most gatekeepy ass shit I'd ever seen in my life. They literally put every single update that made a hard mode easier for like the first like 50 people I saw.
Does
And
Telos not have that where they have
It
the
does.
power creep notes?
Yeah,
on
it
the
does.
side?
It does. Yeah.
I mean,
Go into specifics.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
you
not
have
as.
to go to like a different tab or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
The dual hard mode sheet, it's literally right there. You see it. Yeah.
I can't remember which feed it was. It might have been 4K Telos. It might have been like, I don't even know. It might have been Solo Rago. I can't remember what it was, but Like the people that were like maintaining the sheet like knew that I'd done one, and they like reach out to me and are like, "Hi, this is all of the stuff that we need from you to like validate your kill for our sheet." I was just like, "I'm good. It's fine. I don't really need to be on a sheet. I did it. There's a stream of me doing it."
The VOD's on the Twitch, man.
Yeah, and it's like, I think I sent in my, I think I just literally sent in my VOD. I was like, if that's not good enough for you, I am okay not being on your sheet. I do not care. But yeah, I think gatekeeping is kind of like, I get it because RuneScape players are intense and they're proud of their accomplishments, and so many people have epic gamer egos. But it's like, at the end of the day, do the things that you enjoy, feel proud about it. But like, I don't think anyone gets like notoriety after doing a RuneScape feat.
I mean,
Like
if
people
you're
get
not
a
private
people get a little bit like at a certain level, like goat stuff and like Lucas stuff and like I don't know, maybe the Zammy pushing people, but like I don't think any RuneScape accomplishment should like command universal respect and be like that kind of thing. Where it's
I
like,
don't think any of us would say that's the case at all.
Yeah.
I very much advocate for what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like it's kind of just toxic and stupid.
I just think it deprives people of like whatever it is that they want to do. So if I have an amazing feat, I want to see my boys do it too, rather than gatekeep them from doing it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's one of the things I like about the PvME is I think they enable people to push themselves and actually, you know, improve their PvMing and not worry about like, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of like toxic, like, oh, this is so much easier than it used to be stuff. Cause it's like, everybody knows it's easier than it used to be. They can't fight the old version. You're kind of like, you know, you're kind of raining on someone's parade because of the timing that they wanted to do something. It's like, that wasn't in their control.
Yeah.
Yeah, you asked a question earlier if we think that, I think it was like, is PvM more accessible now than it was earlier? What was it? Do you remember the exact wording of that question you asked?
I mean, I asked about just the differences in the game between, you know, a couple years ago and now with like power creep, but also just with like availability to rotations and
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
think
that.
something that is different today than it was prior is I think it is much easier to bring, well, maybe it's just because, I don't know. Okay, I think it's much easier today to bring like newer people into like almost anything, because you could just go in like as a experienced player, you could just go and cripple him and like a hellhound and just not die and have other people learn stuff. Like, I remember the other day I took a couple of people to AOD for the first time, and it was like a 4-man with 2 people who had never killed it, you know, and like eventually I was just like, you know, I just realized I could just give you a ring of death and you're probably not gonna die. So that happened. And you know, like this one guy was wearing like 3-piece Gano and like 2-piece Acto, and he had a Kaiwir wand and orb, and after I gave him his ring of death, he got through this, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fucking cool, like that. It's like that, because like really all you need is like a Kaiwir wand and orb, greater conch, and some Ganodermic, and you could probably make it through like any boss fight, and that is like not as expensive as like a Nox staff was comparatively like a couple years ago, which is how it was, you know. You need like a tier 90 Invertus, and that's harder than it is today with like even cheaper gear. So.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, I'd say so. You know, especially like the ring, this death cost change, and like this ring of death like update. It's pretty noob accessible, which is kind of like one of the unfortunate like bad things about the way PvM was prior to like, I don't know, like even 2 weeks ago whenever it came out.
I think people like to gatekeep how PvM was, and like as an endgame player, like seeing this power creep, like that aspect of it where everything is easier, it's hard to find things that are enjoyable in the game. It's definitely like, you could view it as a negative for an experienced player, but certainly from an accessibility standpoint, like that to me is like the biggest positive of all of it, is like there are more people PvMing, and the reality is probably that you kind of have to go in that direction. Like there aren't that many RuneScape gamers. So, you know, and most players do not PvM. Like they had stats like 5 years after Telos came out, it was like, if you have a single Telos kill, you're in the top 15% of RuneScape PvMers. And it's like, I think people's idea of like what it takes to be like one of the top PvMers is very, very skewed, because there's a lot of focus on like the top couple people, and you know, if you're a streamer and you're playing the game a lot and whatever, like you're likely gonna get fairly good at PvMing, or you're in the PvME, but like most people do not know how to PvM, and that's a big problem that they're actually tackling.
I think the PvME community also just doesn't really see the rest of the game very much. Like it's a very isolated, like people are in the PvME Discord and know those people and that sort of group, but you don't see the other 95% of the game that is just playing the game.
Yeah.
Or even like all the tons of people that are in the Discord that just cannot really navigate it that coherent. Like it's a hard tool to navigate. Like we love the PvME and it's
Yeah.
a
Well,
great
it's
resource
a lot of
generally, right?
Yeah,
but
that's
it
the
is
point.
totally information
That's the
overload.
point that I wanted to bring up. Like,
Yeah.
was there a community like PvME years ago where it was like
PvME's been around
it was like
for a
the
while.
place to go to?
It's turned
Before
3
that.
or 4 this year. I
Before
think.
Turned
PvME,
four.
it
Turned
was a lot more person-to-person exchange.
Yeah, I feel like the
Like, you had to know
creation-
somebody to
yeah,
learn something.
I feel
You
like the
had to watch
creation
somebody learn
of
something.
this community, because it's now the place to go to, it pulls people from the dark that you never would have thought, and it just brings in people to do like rotations, to create guides, to do X, Y, and Z. And so I think that's why. Shout out to PvME, really, but it's brought on this new wave of people who might have been too shy or who didn't want to come out of the dark to do stuff, if that makes sense.
Sorry, Trey.
No, I hard agree though. Like I think it's not perfect though, but it's as perfect as something that is not inside the game can pretty much
Yeah.
be.
Although I think one thing that a lot of people don't know about, the PvME website
Oh, it's
is-
phenomenal.
infinitely more navigatable
Yeah, I just saw it earlier.
Yeah.
than the Discord, and that's not PvME's fault at all. Discord is just harder to use. But if you find the Discord hard to use, there is a website that has a lot more intuitive search features and grouping and stuff. So
Yeah, and also like if you're trying to navigate the Discord, Control K is your best friend. You can just Control K and
Wait,
it's a
what
search
just-
function. You can just
Oh,
type
really?
anything you want. Like if you type Control K Telos, it'll just show you all of the Telos related
I
stuff.
always click the search bar. I'm such a boomer when it comes to like navigating anything.
But yeah, no, that's like I agree with that though. It's definitely a change though. But
Yeah.
I think that's like the one positive because I think for a lot of us we've moved on from the game a little bit for a lot of different reasons, and I think like part of it for me, like I've had a lot less fun doing certain PVM just because everything feels a lot easier than it was. But also like, I mean, this was kind of one of our talking points, but it was like the idea of can they really balance the game off of what top players are doing? Like, is that good to do? Or is it better that they do what they're doing now, which is they're balancing for like pure straight up accessibility as much as possible?
I think they need to do both, but not at the same time.
yeah, I guess that's
Yeah, Zammy was like trying to do both at the same
Right.
time. I think.
Yeah.
I don't actually think Zammy is like too bad. It seems like it's pretty accessible to like new, like not so experienced players.
Yeah, it is,
and-
but that's the problem. Like, I don't think like.
and also,
the-
it's like the best moneymaker and really fucking hard at the other end too, is it not?
I don't think it's
Um,
like particularly difficult at the
it's
other
not-
end.
I think with the system, they did like having an arranged system that they wanted the low end to be accessible. I think they did a pretty good job of
Yeah.
scaling it to a point where it's still kind of fun for higher level people. But I don't think that it's anywhere near as hard as somebody in the high end community would have wanted the biggest boss release. In
You
the
don't think
community.
like a 2K Telos or a Zamorak kill is like hard enough to be like a fun difficulty level for a? Get the
No.
Oh, I know. I actually agree with Mel here. I think 2K is like pretty spot on for like a current power crept kind of because you're not skipping all the mechanics. You actually have to
Yeah.
deal with them. The boss actually hits pretty hard. If you miss a prayer flick, you're gonna die. Like I feel like 2K like anything further in difficulty that's part of like the drop meta, like
That's not
they
like the
wouldn't have been able to
money-making
do.
meta, really.
Yeah, 2K is.
After 2K though.
No,
like,
it all caps at 2K.
Yeah.
But also HP caps around there too, so it's like to me, 2K is actually really good as an end game boss fight.
I think that's fair. I understand that they can't do this, but like I would like to see like solo hard mode Rago difficulty just exist as a boss.
You wouldn't though, man. You'd
I
get,
would.
Okay, if you had to like farm something that hard, you'd get like annoyed by it.
Well, that's the thing though, right? Is like I haven't farmed a boss in I don't know how long. Because like that's not why I play the game
Imagine if they
anymore,
made a
right?
boss that had like a best in slot sort of thing that was untradeable and it was solo hard mode difficulty.
Okay, that'd be a train
And
wreck.
it was
Yeah.
like 100, like 1 out of 100, you know? So like, you
Yeah,
have
it'd
to
be
do, like-
terrible.
yeah, like that's kind of what you're advocating for, though. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be what it is.
Well, no. What I'm saying. Well, I'm not saying that like they should come out with that as like a boss that has like some best in slot weapon or armor or something, and then like you're forced to like grind this ridiculous. I'm saying
Well,
that.
they're not going to make a boss like that hard that people are going to do one time and then be done with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
don't
too
know. That
much
would
of
necessarily
an
be.
investment.
It's like
Yeah.
the Inferno model, like
Yeah.
old school.
Well, they might do that if there's like a best in slot untradeable that you have to do this, you know, to get there.
Zuck is kind of that. Zuck is, yeah. I don't really know what this difficulty is Zuck, because I did like 1 kill on release
I
to
think
get my cape. And
the
that was
issue
it.
they ran into with Zuck is they wanted to do something like the Inferno in old school,
Yeah.
but how RS3 works with like engagement and everything else, they had to make it farmable, right? You've got sword piece drop rates,
Yeah.
so it has to be made at a difficulty level where people can grind it like 50 times. Like you can't make true aspirational content if the expectation is that you're doing it 50 times or 100 times or whatever it is.
Yeah, actually, I guess, I guess perhaps I was wrong about my take of making something, because I like the idea of like actually having something that just exists as an insanely hard fight that you just like grind, have to really dissect and like work to figure out, and then you do it once, it's like, cool, I got it.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you're really motivated and you don't need money, you try to perfect it and see if you can go faster or optimize it more. But like after we talk about it more, like I realized that with the model of the game and how most people play it, it doesn't work. Yeah, you're right.
I think for me, I would have been happier if Zuck had come out. Normal mode had all the drops, and it was very farmable, and it was this fun 15-minute boss fight, wave spawning, not too serious, and like hard mode was way more difficult. Like I think it would have been really cool. Like to not have a triple.
What would the difference be in terms of rewards for normal and hard mode?
Hard mode would be just set to complete once for the combined cape. So you
Okay.
can still get the normal capes, which are just as good for almost everything. But the combined cape that is basically just a flex cape, for the most part.
That's a hybrid too.
Well, and Bridding, but if you're hybriding in RuneScape, like you can either do a cape switch or you can probably get the thing. But like I would have loved, like I thought I was pretty disappointed, for example, when the triple Jad spawns and you could just safe spot them one at a time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
that
like the
was
fact that like the
yeah.
terrain
Yeah.
wasn't getting destroyed along the way. I was just like, I don't know, I was pretty underwhelmed. And then like the last phase where the whole mechanic is to bring a stamina pot and run in a circle, I was just like, I just felt like it could have been way more for the best in slot cape in the game. And I would have much preferred if they just made normal mode, all the drops are there, and then hard mode was only supposed to be done once.
Yeah.
I kind of agree.
And I think something like the Inferno works a lot better for old school, because the Inferno, even if the actual combat wasn't accessible to a lot of people in the game, even just on release, content and engagement with like streamers and people just watching the game and stuff is so much higher than anything would ever be for RS3. Like 20,000 people watching Wooks get it on the, whenever he got it and that kind of stuff. Like that stuff just doesn't happen as much.
They also haven't really released like something that hard that's untradeable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To motivate people in RuneScape 3, like Zuck Cape in RS3 is like nothing. You know, like it took me like 6 hours from like doing the boss to go from like the first time I walked in to getting the hybrid cape,
Yeah.
which is like fucking nothing compared to like
How can
Odie
they
and
feel like
Woods.
put the cape on like a drop rate kind of thing, and like it works as like a pet drop rate where like if you own it, you obviously can't get a duplicate since it's like an untradeable, but like if you happen to lose it like by dying twice, you're like you destroy it because you're being dumb or whatever. you
Oh,
can
that
get it
would.
again.
I would hate that.
I don't think I would like that personally.
Because I didn't like Zuck, so it was like,
Nothing.
it was a nice one and done type of thing for me.
I also think like we're talking about how Zuck is like pretty pedestrian. It's not super difficult, but also like I know for a lot of people it has actually served as pretty good aspirational content.
Really?
Because I think a lot of people's goal in RS3 is like, I don't know, if you ever peruse RuneScape subreddit, which I wouldn't recommend, but you get a lot of posts that are like, got my first Zuck cape, like whatever, and you see like, you see like it's probably like a scuffed revo bar and a setup that doesn't make sense, but you see someone that did a bunch of attempts and persevered and figured it out and like managed to get through the DPS checks. And I think like it's not a failure with regard to like aspirational content for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, really what it comes down to is the skill ceiling is so high. Like there's such a big jump between one of you guys and someone who is brand new to PvMing. And yeah, I do feel like the hype of Zuck was like it was so hype when Zuck first came out. Like I remember all the old school people were like in my chat watching and like on the last phase, I'm running around and I'm killing the thing. And I remember I got a message from Paul, like the old school streamer. He was like in my chat and he was like, "This doesn't look hard." And then it was done.
FAUX.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, no, it was such a buzzkill to get into this epic last phase. It was like this huge moment, and then it was, this is a pull that you have to hit.
Right. Yeah, last phase of suck hard mode's kind of weird, man. Given like,
And then everybody left.
yeah,
Like,
there is
this
some element
is
of
it.
challenge up to that point, right? And like the fight isn't like necessarily like free. Like you do have to try a little bit.
Had you done any Zuck before it was released?
No.
Okay,
Never.
so what was your? Because I guess I didn't do it on release, so I didn't know that it was going to be running around. I mean, I knew it was going to be this running around goofy stuff before I did it. Were you like, did you know it was going to be the running around situation before you got there?
No, at 100K when it phased, I'm like the most fired up person on planet Earth. I'm like, we've got a last phase. It's going to be like old school. So I was trying to like hide behind the stick. And then Zuck was shooting a thing, and I thought it was going to block it like in old school. Right? But nope. Just run in a circle.
You like resin.
Yeah.
Res disrupts
Defenses kinda
Bitpot.
fuck us, man. I guess Sammy did a good job of that, but like defenses are so strong, you know?
The fact that with all the defensives in our arsenal, they couldn't just do a triple jad, that you actually had to flick
Yeah.
3. Because like with defensives, like you can, it's not even like a one shot. There's no risk at all.
You can K and kill one. Like,
Yeah. K to Omni instead.
Yeah.
Obviously some basics because you need the adrenaline, but
for wave, anything with waves, we also have just way more access to AoE stuff.
oh yeah, compared to like old school, you mean?
Yeah, well, AoEs, we have stuns as well that work
Yeah.
on a lot of actual wave mob type things. And
RuneScape offers so many tools,
yeah,
but 90% of the player base doesn't know how to use them, which is largely on the game for not being intuitive. But because of that, like an endgame player can roll something that a less experienced player is just going to have the worst time with. And I think that's been like, I know from a balancing standpoint, like I was playtesting Zammy, and like there's so much thought that goes into like balancing every little thing and the HP and like the Zammy heal and like everything, and having to base that off of a player base where one guy will do 100k DPM in the same gear as someone will do 500k is like, it's really, really hard. And what ends up happening is you come up with content that isn't perfect for anybody.
Right.
Because it's too hard for somebody new and it's too easy for somebody less new.
Well, that was actually, I mean, that's pretty much one of like the talking points that we had, right? Like I like to call it in quotes the difficulty dilemma of like, we clearly have a very stagnated player base in the PvM community, and how do you navigate making content or just like the philosophy of game design going forward? Is it try to find ways to help these people and help casual players improve? Is it make everything accessible to them on release so that they don't have to? Is it like...
Dude, I'm gonna be honest, man. I think things like Anime Dead, the Death rework, like this, you know, like the ease at which a person can like get through a boss fight.
People are saying F. Oh, did your camera die?
Wait, did it actually?
Might have.
No.
No, it's okay. That's okay. We can fix it, I think.
Can they hear us but not see us?
Yeah, they should be able to hear us. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
we need to charge.
Oh, I probably just need to plug it in.
Try and plug it in. If you can't plug it in,
Hold on.
We need to charge it with a second.
Let me, it might have not died. It might have just shut off.
Auto shut off.
Okay, no, I think it actually died. All right, yeah, I'll plug it in.
Cool. Yeah, plug it on my computer, see if that works. And if not, we have so many webcams. Do you have a webcam or no?
No, so it would just be yours.
Going into USB mode, right?
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Another computer that's not using it to charge it or no?
Yeah, if this
Yeah,
doesn't
probably
work,
should.
give us 1 second, team.
Hold on.
In worst case, I can throw on a webcam.
Yeah.
That will be fine.
Tragic. I thought the battery would last longer.
Well, it did say 9 hours, but
It said 9 hours?
it did.
Oh,
that's
probably.
probably 9 hours. Of,
Yeah.
You're not constantly.
yeah, but no, we need it juiced up for the hot tub stream later. So
Very true.
yeah, no. Okay.
Landscape streamers streaming in the beaches, pools, and that section, man.
Oh, that'd be so. Can we?
Yo, cracking those fucking views.
All right, I think we might be back.
I think we might be good. Not bad. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Beautiful. All right. Maybe not.
Did it go into USB mode?
It just went black instantly. So.
Oh, it said battery exhausted, I think.
Oh, it's overheating.
Oh,
If
really?
it says battery exhausted, that might mean it's overheating. Here's what we should do.
Battery doesn't feel hot.
Okay.
Do you have another battery, my friend?
No.
Okay.
Well,
Idea. We are gonna take a 2-minute break, and we will be back.
Grab a webcam, are you thinking?
is it turned on?
I think.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that, friends.
Yeah, sorry for that, everyone. We should be all
Let's
good.
try some.
My camera battery died.
Yeah, we're gonna get it slightly juiced up, and then it'll be good to go. Yeah, I think everyone can hear. Everyone can. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I think the frame's good too, actually. Yeah, solid. Yeah, cool.
All right, so the question that we had left on is what is the, in everyone's opinion, the best way to address the, what is the best way to address the stagnation in the skill gap between PvMers in the game?
I think what they're doing right now, where they're making it less spooky to start and try stuff, is really the play. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like since it just kind of happened, this Death Cost rework, we haven't like felt it yet, but I think you guys will be surprised to see over the next however many months, like more like, I'm hoping at least, more like newer players kind of trying out bosses that they otherwise had not tried out, you know? Yeah.
I think it's a good approach too. Like, I think that helps a lot. I do also feel like it doesn't it helps get people PvMing, but it doesn't necessarily get people to the end game or like allow them to make harder stuff. So I think it's, but no, it definitely helps. Like, I think it's a good approach.
Bro, if you're really trying to get people to like get 12-button mouses and like spend excessive amounts of times looking into their keybind setups and learn how to like play a keyboard like it's an instrument, you know, like you're kind of asking too much of the community, to be perfectly honest,
So-
on a game that's not really focused on PvM like that.
So I've got one for you. I had Sponge on a little bit ago.
Okay.
On Sponge. And what he wants to do is like every basic ability in the game, right? Does a bunch of different stuff. Like Sever, you know, you get like 10% reduced damage taken for 6 seconds or something. Like every ability has an effect. And the thing that he kind of wants to do,
That's going to make it even more complicated.
well, that's how it is right now.
Okay, yeah.
What he wants to do is say, fuck it, this ability is called your basic ability. It's a 188. it doesn't have any other special effect. It gives you 8% adren. So he wants to kind of consolidate abilities specifically for basics so that instead of needing 12 different basics that all effectively are used for the same thing, you keep a couple with effects, you know, a couple bleeds, whatever, and then everything else is just your main basic attack. So what you're basically doing is you're taking Rack and you're making it, you know, you keep its cooldown, but instead of making it a trap ability because it has low cooldown, you make it like the designated filler ability that you're using most of the time. When you want to build, you hit the one button.
Yeah, okay, but like what, does that mean like all the abilities with their effects are just gonna go away and then?
All the effects that like aren't used for anything.
But they're all kind of used for something in different points, like Impact's used for flanking, you know, like Chain's used for if there's
So some of them are, like Chain's a good example of one that is used, but like, I don't
what's
know.
one, like there's Tuska's Wrath or whatever it's called, you know?
Tuskas are like, I don't know, sacrifice for the heal isn't like a huge deal. Like people don't use it for the heal. Rack, other than Telos, nobody sets up ice racks. Well, 99% of the community
Solak
doesn't.
roots.
Yeah, but like most players, that's, you know, that's like kind of a secondary thing that makes it more
and
complicated.
having to do something like having a second spell down and stuff, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like what do you think about simplifying, not every basic, of course, but
I
like
think
a lot of the
it
basics?
kind of looks like it might work for melee, but that's about it, you know? Like,
Yeah, because like Sever is the same as Cleave's, the same as Decimates, the same as like, I mean, Havoc, like there are effects now with Gloves of Passage and stuff, but like for the most part, you could actually just make them all the same ability.
The way I'd kind of rather see it is it's almost like meeting in the middle, where having a more straightforward and basic option like that for newer players. So like making something like Rack not so just horrible to use all the time, but also keeping it to where if you put in the extra knowledge and effort, you can get more out of it instead of everybody being kind of handicapped by.
do you think it'd be too OP if they just combined everything, like Chain, Impact, and Sonic Wave, and Combust? Like,
All the same effect.
it's one ability that does all of those things at the same time. You think that'd be too overpowered?
Yes.
Probably would be.
Yeah.
What would you even call it?
I don't know. Okay, well, what if you
Deep
okay, take
chain,
Combust, take
rack chun,
Take-
deep chain bust.
take Combust out of that. You know, if you had Sonic Wave, Chain, and Impact all as the one ability that does the same thing for all of them, you know?
Sonic Imp Chain.
Yeah.
Impactful Sonic.
Like, it's not like very often where you want to use the effect of Impact and Chain, you know? Like, so realistically, you're only getting 1 out of 2 of those, and Sonic Wave effect is kind of nothing, so, you know?
I mean, I actually don't hate, the way that you initially framed it, I hated it, but like it's not terrible. It's like, I mean, that does make it a little more simple, but I kind of agree with what Demo said, honestly, where just like, you want to make these low cooldown abilities that new players use more because they're easier, make them not a trap.
Yeah.
Make them not like Punish and Slice are trap abilities. Like you should
Melee's
never
kind
use
of-
them ever.
Melee's kind of fucked because of how they did it on the EOC release, but I think Magic and Range, you can't really do this, you know? Like, what would you get rid of?
Well, I think.
Like, just Rack? Like,
Well, I guess looking at Rack is probably the easiest way to talk about it, because
Piercing shot.
if you're not using Rack like on cooldown as a new player, like there's like a million more things about the game you have to understand to do well. You have to like have more keybinds. You have to be managing more cooldowns and stuff. If you made Rack like a 150 or something instead of being like 90 or whatever it is right now.
94.
Yeah. If you did something like that where it wouldn't just instantly be everybody spams this forever, but it would help people who are struggling managing everything kind of just have something you could cycle all the time, then I don't know, you could maybe.
I think one of the biggest traps is actually like Revolution, you know, because what happens is
I had a
people-
Reddit post about this.
people don't like bind their basics, you know, and they use all their binds for other things, and then it's just impossible to turn it off. You know, they'd have to redo all of their binds, you know.
I completely agree with that. I think that is like one of the biggest reasons why people don't have keybinds is because you don't keybind your basics or any of your abilities. And then you're like, if you're like putting your pinky on Q and you're doing QWERTY, you put random stuff that you don't use often there.
You put like food on QW
Yeah, food or like a super restore or like your elven ritual shard, and then your like god book is like E, and it's like, and then as soon as you're trying to learn manual, now you have to unlearn all of the previous stuff that you just done because it made sense before actually starting to apply new info. No, I totally agree
Isn't
with that.
like the basic or the base keybind setup something like 1 through 0?
It's 1
Yeah,
through
it's,
10, yeah, or
Is
1
it
through 9.
still-
And also,
like
like
that?
when you make a new account, Revo's turned on by default,
Yeah,
which
I-
like probably a good first step is like
Yeah, they should probably
have
like
it
do
turned
like
off.
It's like Revo auto regenerate on
Yeah,
and
yeah.
ability queuing, or all
Yeah.
on default. You have to like go into the menu and turn them off. It is such a trap.
I think that's the one issue I had with like Reese abilities coming out. It's like you're eventually gonna run out of space, or you're eventually gonna run out of action bars on your screen. I'm
Yeah.
dying to get another action bar on the screen.
oh, it's never gonna
Yeah, I
happen.
know.
There are reasons it can't.
I know.
Unless they do a full engine upgrade.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I
handle it.
It apparently having the sixth action bar on screen will just like crash your game.
Yeah. I think to answer your question, Ryan, earlier, my take is very different from I think you guys in general. For me, it's and Ryan made a really good point last night actually. Cairo Wright's rotations, I follow them to the T, and so my take is very much like no one's gonna be happy with what comes out 100% of the time, right? Like Cairo will have a different intake or an input. Chris will have a different input. Everyone will always have a different input on the spectrum of like the PvMers, and for me, it's just like whatever comes out, I'm gonna work with it and I'm gonna deal with it and I'm gonna make the best of it that I can. So it's really interesting hearing these conversations of how you guys see things differently. Because for me, it's like, give it to me, baby, and I'll figure it out. And I'll make it work. So yeah.
Well, that's even you gotta realize like you like looking at the sheet and like trying to do it is like already maybe 1% of PvMers. I'd be surprised if it's more than that. Like, it's just kind of unfortunate that if you want to really like truly PvM at a high level, right? The only way to do it is there's a sheet, you learn it, and you execute it. But I understand that most casual players don't want to sit at dummies looking at Excel or like that clip of you with the Telos sheet. You know, like people don't want to do that, and I
didn't
understand
enjoy
why.
that, but that was like the only way I was going to learn Telos.
But the reality is, like,
I remember
yeah.
there's so many clips of Mel first learning the Telos 1K plus rotation,
Yeah.
and
I
he's
was
just
just
got it
waiting
like a
for it.
metronome in his head. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But
yeah,
it's
just
like
every single input.
like unless there's some really big changes to how combat works in the game, like people aren't going to learn how to do like grandmaster pace Solat kills unless they're studying the spreadsheet like that. You know?
I think that's okay though. To me, that's not really a problem because I think every game is gonna have like, I'll call them like super users. You know, people that are gonna take it very, very seriously because they want to be the best. And I don't think you can necessarily cater to those people, but I also don't think that really shows like a problem in the learning process. That if you really want to be perfect, you can go and get a spreadsheet and copy it. I think that should never be required, and I think that's something that the game is moving towards. That's why things are becoming more accessible. Like, you should never have to go learn a spreadsheet to play the game, but I personally think that's fine, that's a part of the process if you want to be that good.
I think it's fine that because people are always like people do that in other MMOs, right? Like people do it in World of Warcraft, they do it in Final Fantasy, but I think where it potentially becomes an issue is if you lean too far in the other direction where like you don't need to do any of that at all to do things effectively, then you get to a point where like the content is very boring for high tier players.
You're basically undoing EOC, right? It's almost like
Yeah.
a click and a character
Almost,
does the whole
yeah.
rotation. Like, yeah, there's definitely a fine line. EOC was such a weird one. Like, it did so much good and it did so much terribly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't playing at the time, but I've always thought it was a good idea that wasn't ready or thought out enough to happen at the time, and now they've spent all of this time fixing it, and it's in such a better place. But
I think it's crazy to me that there's still stuff like there are twice the melee abilities as the other styles, just because strength is a skill,
Yep.
and range attack and range strength aren't. Like the fact that when EOC
Yeah,
came
that's
out,
really
they didn't
weird.
consolidate attack and strength is crazy to me. And the fact that 10 years later now, like that's still a thing that you have to deal with is like,
and it doesn't
yeah.
make any sense to new players
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And even high level players like wouldn't understand that differences you really gain from attack and strength levels and stuff, and like how that stuff works, because it's just not intuitive or straightforward.
There's like a Mod Pi quote from right after the ESC came out, because he was like doing like feedback stuff. And it straight up is strength is useless as a skill.
Yeah.
Because your damage comes from your weapon.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it impacts almost nothing to like have no strength level at all.
Well, other than the abilities you get from it.
Other than the abilities you unlock. But damage wise, like it matters, it barely matters at all.
Strength games is pretty good.
I can't remember what I know the mage and range ones off the top of my head, but there's an actual formula for how ability damage is calculated.
Yeah.
And I don't recall if strength is factored in the same way that mage level is factored in.
I think it's different.
Is it different?
I believe
Okay.
it's different. Well, because magic and range are different, because you've got your ammo damage as well.
Wait, so
your
then how does
spell
DBA
damage.
work?
DBA it's a 20% increase to your damage value,
Oh, it's
I think
it's
strength
increased to
level-
ability
I think
damage,
strength
not to
level has
strength
a
value.
Really small.
but it's additive and not multiplicative. So how DBA
I
works
see.
is it's actually only a 10%, because in a Zerk you're doing 200%, with
Yeah.
DBA you're doing 220, not
Right.
240.
Right.
I believe that's how it works.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was confused. Because, like, old DBA, I never actually read the spec, but I just kind of assumed it was boosting strength level, because I think that's what it did, like, pre-EOC. And my baseline assumption was that strength level is like a multiplicative thing in the same way that it is with, like, the magic ability damage calculation. But it's probably not. I'd be surprised if it was.
I couldn't tell you, but either way, that's one of those things that like didn't make sense at the time, still doesn't make sense
Right.
now.
And they've not really done anything about making it make sense.
Maybe they add necromancy and they remove strength.
Hey, that'd
You know?
be good, yeah.
Just a little switcheroo. We wake up one morning and it's like, oh, that's a different thing in the spell
Won't
tab.
ruin anyone's interface.
No,
Save it
it'll be
skills.
perfect. Yeah, it'll be good. Speaking of necromancy, I think
Is
might
that
be
one of the topics?
a fun topic.
can,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you guys hoping for from the new skill? I think that's probably the best starting point. We can kind of go around the room. If anyone has things like, whether it's like archaeology, like, oh, I want it to add new perks, or like, you know, the base skill itself, how it changes the game.
I think that's like the base answer, power creep. Like how much power creep is going to be added
But there are
into the
different
game.
kinds of power group, right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun if it was like a new combat style that was kind of a support style. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Well,
Support as in like summoning.
Kinda, yeah. Like you summon things, you know, you're not doing damage yourself, and maybe you could summon some little boys that come and help your teammates, you know? The sort of thing.
yeah, I guess that's kind of what other MMOs have that
Mhm.
RuneScape doesn't. It's
Yeah.
like a pure support-based thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the problem with RuneScape is that it would have to be just like outrageously strong, right? Like
Yeah.
to use. I mean, obviously, if it wouldn't really do anything in solo and that kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
But
I wonder if it's gonna like override summoning. Like if you're gonna be able to have like a summoning familiar and a necromancy familiar, assuming they are like familiar related things. Because necromancy is about like bringing back the dead, right?
I
Is that
think
what it's like?
necromancy is going to be, I think, a really huge skill for PvM. Because, like, think about how much archaeology changed PvM, and it's like,
Yeah.
how is archaeology a PvM skill?
yeah,
Right? So, like, I think when you talk about, like, interacting with undead, like, you immediately think combat, naturally. And so it'll be really interesting to see what this next phase of PvM is that comes from that skill.
Maybe you start bringing back dead chefs to help you cook.
Yeah, it's like a straight up skilling skill. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
You can bring back a dead wood chopper who can chop trees for you.
Oh
Oh, I hadn't even thought of. We don't want to give them ideas.
something I was kind of thinking about was like rather than a completely new system, maybe it could do something with modifying what we already have, like undead variants of abilities and stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like it has an effect where I don't know. Like they've been doing a lot of stuff with, like think of like the new whip thing that they added, where it like
Yeah.
it modifies like a weapon to have like an extra effect that
Mm-hmm.
builds up over time or can proc over time or something like that, where they just add on to what we already have rather than just giving us more and more and more new things.
I mean, surely there's gonna be no way to like bring one of your teammates back from the dead.
Nah, they
There's no fucking
That'd
I was
be
gonna
kinda
say, if
fucking
there's a
cool.
That'd be
toxic ass
pretty
way to
busted.
res your teammates,
It could
that would
be,
be
yeah.
so funny. Like, I think
Maybe like something like if use this spell and they die within a minute or something, they come back with like half HP and 10% more
An
damage.
extra
Like
sign.
a sign or something.
Like, obviously none of this would like
Yeah,
make
yeah.
balancing sense without like, a lot of consideration. But, you know, like you could do stuff like that where.
I think Omid had a proposal for the death rework from like a year and a half ago, something like that. And his idea was that if you
Oh, I remember
if you were
this.
to die, there'd be a resurrect spell. And how it would work is if you died, you were basically in spectator mode, so you could stay exactly where where your teammates would keep fighting, and then the spectator mode would cost 100% adren. It was an alt, so you could use it at the cost of full adren, and then it would channel, and then it would bring you back.
Oh.
With like a long cooldown.
That's
And I feel
interesting.
like necromancy ties fairly well into that. But imagine if you could bring back a fallen teammate, and when they came back, they had like undead attributes, so their abilities were different.
Right. Yeah,
Everything that they
yeah.
had worked differently, or they could, you know, go through walls or whatever else. Like, I think there's a lot there that could
Dude,
be really
holy
sick.
I want to be honest. I don't think the client could handle that level of like.
That's a
I don't know.
lot.
We got shadow clones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like imagine having to create like an entire new like frame of reference that you see as a player, and then like having like the client try to like process that when like I already have to PVM at 4 a.m. on Quick Chat Worlds because that's all that works.
Dude, imagine if there's a way to like kill your teammates to put them into this necromancy.
That's
Yeah,
what
like
I-
making it
that's
part
what
of the
I was
actual
thinking,
gameplay.
Yeah, but like no, like, that was more like you bring them back when they happen to die. Imagine if there's a way to like make your teammate undead. Like you just put down like an orb, and if the teammate like goes to
Yeah,
it,
like charges up or something.
yeah, and then they just die, and now they are alive for 1 minute. After which point they will actually die,
Right.
but during
But they're-
that
they're a
minute,
juicer.
yeah, that'd be kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
This conversation has me so hyped for this skill. Like, it's gonna be fun. Like, we don't know how it's gonna work, but it's gonna.
Well,
be
this
fun.
skill is the
Literally, it could have
entirety-
Zero things to do with PvM as well.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? But
This skill is the entire reason that I like picked up my account again and like
Yeah.
went and did the rebuild because I was excited to see what would happen in. Like I said, I think it will change PVM for the entire next 3 years, maybe. You know, until some bigger change comes out. But that's really what got me motivated to like be around.
That's why, like, I feel like people are kind of nitpicking current game balance when it's like, oh, Facility's too strong, Animate Dead needs a nerf, I don't know, whatever else. Bolg is only good at some spots, Melee is still a shit show. And when you're looking at that, I think a lot of the reasoning why none of that stuff has been corrected or changed is I'm exactly what Aaron said is like, they're going to show up, Necromancy's going to come out, and it's going to completely change everything. And at that point, that's, for me, if I were doing it, like, I wouldn't make a bunch of sweeping balance changes 6 months before a new skill comes out that is going to change everything again anyway.
Yeah. No, I
Be
can
kind
see
of cool
that.
too if you could like bring back enemies that you killed from the dead, like
To, like,
golems
fight for
at
you?
Telos, or like, huh?
Could they fight for you?
Yeah,
That'd be
essentially.
kind of cool. Like minions, you can bring them back.
Like I feel like it'd be a really good like. I
That's
kind
way
of hope
too
they don't go
fucking
in that
hard.
direction. Yeah,
That's
that'd be a
way
shit
too
show,
fucking
honestly.
hard,
But
yeah.
if they went that direction, it'd only be good in like elite dungeons. I feel because you just have like a fuck ton of trash mobs helping you through the dungeon or something.
Dude,
They're like
imagine.
stupid stunny ones too. You could just get them all to run with you.
I imagine they're gonna like have like other creatures you like slay or something as part of necromancy, and then
Probably,
they become part
yeah.
of your arsenal
can,
that
like,
you can
store
bring
them or
back.
something.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I imagine it'll be something like there's like undead shackles or something as like a two-handed weapon, and then you like put them on, and now you can't fucking put on any other weapon for like a minute, and so you have to spend this time doing necromancy type of thing. So you have to decide when you want to like go into necromancy mode. I assume it'll be something like that.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I assume while you're training the skill, they'll be like,
Okay, Finn, we're all reading chat.
we can
We can all
see
see it.
I can't read it from over here.
Finna said, at Cairo, stand up for 2 seconds, but don't tell anyone else why. It's like, just right in the middle, just hit one of those.
I think we all know why he wants me to. Like,
Dude, what is your deal right now, man?
yeah, I don't know. I imagine like you'll like go somewhere and then like kill something or like resurrect something, and then you like trap its soul, and then now it's in your back pocket whenever you want to bring it back. And then I just imagine it'll be like when you're doing necromancy in a fight, that is all you get to do. Is how it's gonna work in my head.
So you think it's gonna be like a combat skill?
Yeah, I think so. Or like something like that.
Or you have an undead chef cooking for you.
No.
dude, what if it
Undead
was
Chef-
like, what if it was like enchanters in League? like like a fucking Yumi, where basically like you're not in the fight, but you're just like kind of like from afar, just like casting and like controlling things.
I want
That's
like
kind of how I imagine it'll be, you know? It seems like too overpowered for it just to be like, or like
an
also-
additional power creep.
Yeah,
Like
like
just random buffs.
yeah, like now I have like a new ability book that is kind of like life points where I can use it at any point, and
Yeah.
then now like one of these like I just I have another mob here, you know.
Well, yeah. What I was gonna say was maybe what they could do is
Sorry, the chat is
Yeah.
just like hilarious.
to maybe get around that is like maybe there are necromancy like offhands you have to use or something that you need to like get
Yeah.
access to abilities, because that would also kind of help with the ability overload issue where you have too many abilities, not enough keybinds and stuff.
Yeah.
So
They put it in the ring slot.
yeah,
Like the
it-
Dude, you have another action. So like we already have like our hybrid bars, and now there's like another action bar preset that has your necromancy book. So when you
Right.
throw on the offhand, it changes
right,
the
that's what I was
bar.
saying, yeah, something
Oh
like that.
my.
If it's gonna be that way, it has to be the main hand, doesn't it? Like there's no
Yeah,
way
yeah, it
to
would
do
have to
that
be,
with
yeah.
an offhand. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I have no clue.
That's gonna be fun. This is kind of a callback, but we talked about how they can't fit any more action bars on and how annoying that is. So apparently there's a workaround for that they could do, but the issue with doing it is it's confusing.
I remember this.
So what they could do is like the issue with having action bars loading is like you've got abilities loading in the book, and then they also need to load on the bars. But things like sigils, things like
Food.
keybinds, things like food, those don't need to be loaded in the same way. So what you could do
Oh,
is
so
you
you
could
could
make a
have one that's
separate bar
restricted
that
to
was
just
just
items.
for non-abilities, and that
Oh, that wouldn't be bad.
apparently
Yeah.
wouldn't take nearly as much computational.
Okay.
power. So that could be in the cards, but it does make things a little more confusing for a new player as like
Yeah.
what's the difference between these two bars and why. So I think that's one of the like workaround solutions that they
Yeah.
have. I just yeah.
I mean, they could just call it something like non-ability hotbar, you know?
Make it a different color.
Yeah.
They could call it like I don't know, like ability bars,
Sweat lord
and then
bar.
like equipment bars or
Like I
utility
literally
bars.
think,
Yeah.
how many do we have? 5 action bars? I think
Yeah.
like almost 2 of them are non-abilities on my screen right now. Maybe
Yeah.
even more than that,
Yeah,
honestly.
you
Yeah.
could trim that much out
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I have like DPS bar, defensive bar, and then everything else
Yeah.
is sigil switches, prayers.
And like food and shit, yeah. And spells, you know? So yeah, like almost 3 bars probably of the 5 on my screen are not abilities.
I'm gonna be honest. I think like at some point, like Jagex is gonna have to bite the bullet and do an engine upgrade, though.
That's like impossible.
I think they're gonna have to.
Big
They'd
Nintendo.
probably just make a new game, wouldn't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm
probably,
saying?
right?
That's
Because it's
that's gotta be
effectively the
RuneScape
same.
4.
Yeah, it's effectively the same amount of work. But it's very clear that we're getting to the point where the game just can't handle much more.
The servers are overloaded.
Yeah.
The abilities are getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Even the visual team with the new models and stuff is like can't handle, like the engine can't
Yeah,
do what they want it to, and
like
they've done all
I
this work that is now just like sitting there on hold. So.
for Zamorak when I was pushing like month of release, I had to play the boss on like low graphics or medium graphics.
I think I did that too, actually.
Yeah, like you just have to.
Yeah.
It's like that at Carapac too.
Yeah.
Carapac on release was horrid
Yeah,
for performance.
it was rough.
I think server performance would also help people learn PvMing too. I think
Yeah.
one of the frustrations is like there's nothing listed in game that is like, hi, by the way, I know worlds hold 1,500 people, but please don't log into this world, because like I know a lot of people, like I've seen a Reddit post where people are like, the tick system needs to go because I feel like I'm playing a turn-based game, and it's guaranteed they're just not playing on a good world. But it's like,
Yeah.
it is. Like, I can't imagine trying to learn PvM for the first time. Like, I'm trying to learn Telos on World 84. Can you imagine how frustrating? Because you would get the hold still, you'd hit your freedom at the right time, it would go off 2 game ticks later, and then you would die every time.
2
And you
game
feel
ticks
like,
is optimistic. More like
it's
2
How,
GCDs.
how would you possibly predict this? Like, there's
Yeah.
no way to.
And it's inconsistent. And then on top of that, a lot of casual players don't have crazy sick computers and stuff. So add having 30 FPS in some of these fights and stuff, on top of already having input delay and random lag and stuff, and it's just impossible to get into.
Yeah, no, it's totally agree. It's just like, it's a system that does not, Like, because the thing is, like, if I log in or any of us log in and we're lagging, we know to hop worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if that's someone's RuneScape experience, they don't know that they can just hop worlds and fix it. They just
Yeah.
think that's what the game is like.
Or even you take it a step further where you start changing the language, you know?
Well, and then
Oh, yeah.
on the other side of that too is that if everybody did know that you could hop worlds, it would work for nobody.
That's true. It's
yeah.
kind of like if all of the worlds were evenly distributed,
Everybody would be having a bad
PvMers would
time.
be doomed. Yeah.
Well, I mean, also like people just like to always play on the same world. Like, couldn't you
Yeah.
just hit the play now button and it would optimize the world you play on for you?
But it doesn't factor in pop. It's just based on the server location.
Yeah.
So like my home world, like when I'm back at home in Canada, it's 64, which is a world with like 400 people on it.
Oh, okay.
And it's like I couldn't play on there, but that's my play now world.
Okay, I did not. I've never hit the fucking play now button, so I didn't know exactly how it worked.
The favorites are like right.
Yeah, it's all based on that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Why don't we hit
how
one of the topics?
the auto world changes no matter what I do. Oh, okay, I thought that was about to be a more in-depth question when I started reading it.
Also, we can take like a 30-second. You guys can keep talking, but I am gonna switch the cameras.
Oh, okay, is mine good again?
That should be.
Okay, nice.
Why don't we hit one of the topics? Like,
Oh, yeah.
That's an actual question. Talking.
Okay, so I suppose we could talk about. We already touched on the difficulty element. All right. There's two options. One is actually, I guess three.
Make an executive decision, Mr. Podcast
One,
host.
one is we could talk about like Zamorak release and like the fight and what you guys think about that. The other one I have is talking about like new boss ideas or like how more complex mechanics can come out to make fights more interesting. And then the third one is talk about like the power creep of weapons.
Victory poison.
Which one of these have we not covered the most?
I think we talked about Zammy a fair bit.
We talked about Zammy a fair bit. I think probably. Okay, I changed my mind. I said before stream, I said we weren't going to do this, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm going to read out.
Oh, you're not.
I'm going to. I'll make it shorter.
Oh no.
So if you guys aren't aware,
We're going to Reddit, boys.
we're going to Reddit.
Oh no.
Our good friend Cookie, who's an avid PvM user, went through out of his own interest and basically designed like on text like a write-up for like a complete boss fight. It's called QBD Ascended. I won't go into any of the lore or anything like that.
I think I've seen this.
And I think it is a really interesting idea. Let me find it. I know I have it somewhere. Where did I save it?
Also, we're like good to go, by the way. Like everything's
Okay, sweet.
Everything's all juiced.
Aha, I found it. So there's like he went into like the whole detail of like HP, like the affinities it has like the immunity, stuff like that, but we'll just like ignore all of that because it's not really.
What's the origin of this boss idea? Like, how did it come to be an idea for him to even write?
Like why QBD or why did he do it like at all?
Both.
QBD Ascended. There's a lore thing, but it's kind of long. But I don't know. I think it. I will say I do like the idea of reinvigorating new versions of old bosses.
Like AOD?
Like AOD, I think
Okay.
was a good move. Rex Matriarchs replaced. No, I'm kidding.
Not the worst.
So that's
idea
like one
ever.
thing. But the other thing was just like, you know, me and Cookie all the time talk about Copium's ideas on RuneScape and like things that you could implement to make the game more interesting or make PvM feel more dynamic and less kind of like, okay, you do your rotations, the kill's done, and then like rinse and repeat sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'll just read out kind of like the general things quick here. So these were the ideas of QBD Ascended. So passives, one is soulbound. So QBD special attacks are increased by 10% for each soul in the arena. So like recall how normal QBD has the souls that kind of spawn or whatever, and like they'll hit you for some damage. But his idea is to kind of have like an effect. Yeah, they can, yeah. Each active soul reduces damage she takes by 5% per soul, and then you can stack up to 5 in the arena if you don't kill them. And then there's another passive, Adaptive Hardening. QBD periodically pinpoints an ability or spec and reduces damage taken by that ability by 30%. Adaptive Hardening can either pinpoint an ability dealing above 10k hit splat or an ability dealing significant damage over time, track like Jazz Book. The player will be notified of the ability being tracked by QBD, so like some kind of message pop-up or something. And then the third passive is QBD periodically releases a Corrupted Soul, which attacks the player for moderate melee damage. A maximum of 5 souls can be active at once, including those from the Soul Rupture. If there are 5 souls in the arena, soul release will not. Okay, that sounds a bit confusing. But point is there's souls that will attack you and reduce the damage that you deal to QBD.
I got a question. Can we cover this topic as a more general kind
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the general
All right,
broad
so,
strokes
yeah,
of this, my friend?
So the broad stroke of it is, rather than just being like, okay, this QBD hits you with 3 autos, then does a spec, and then 3 autos, then does another spec, and then you hit your phase HP.
Okay.
It is continuously doing special attacks.
Like every attack.
There is sometimes autos weaved in, but there are a lot of back-to-back mechanics to be dealt with, essentially. And
That'd
the
be
idea
interesting.
is, rather than having like kind of like this like continuously rotating like order throughout the fight, you're constantly having to deal with mechanics. And I think the
And
important
it's dynamic, like I assume, like it's not like arc choice.
yeah, they can. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea is that these mechanics would be things. So I think we can all agree, like getting minions at 4K Arc Glacore is like a total pain in the ass, right? Because like it's just something where like you stop damaging the boss and you now have to take 5 minutes to kill these 200 life point little minion things. So all of the mechanics are kind of designed with the idea that it wouldn't be annoying to have to continuously just get berated by mechanics, which I think is an important distinction. Because I think if you went into like racks and it was just spamming webs every 2 ticks,
Yeah, well,
it would suck.
Those bosses' mechanics wouldn't really work for
Yeah,
this sort
yeah.
of idea. You
So
need
I think
to like build the mechanics.
Yeah,
around
the key is you have to actually design a mechanic that you can interact with as a player in a non-annoying way. So rather than, because I feel like effectively every mechanic in the game is an interruption that you have to deal with, and then you get back to like the core of just dealing with autos and doing your damage. So a complete shift to where mechanics are an integral part of the fight that you're interacting with as a player and is a lot more interesting than how it currently works.
I think it's interesting that this idea was sprouted around a solo boss too. You know what I'm saying?
It's solo or duo.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Never mind. Fair enough. But yeah, that could be interesting. I would not mind a more mechanic-heavy boss where
Yeah.
the mechanics aren't like as intense as they are because they're designed to happen like once every like 20 seconds as like they currently are. Where if they're happening like every like 3 seconds, it can't all be fucking insta-kills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that would be interesting.
And I think one of the really cool things about like the general design is it kind of has what we all love about Telos, which is that like each phase has its designated set of like core like mechanic, and then it all comes together in the last like P4, P5.
I do think, like, for me, I think a lot of RuneScape mechanics currently, I'm going to save it for a sec,
Sure.
because the QBD page is up there, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, like, most RuneScape mechanics recently, like, if you look at Elder God Wars, you either take a hit, like, you either have to take damage or deal damage.
Yeah.
And that's almost everything. And I think, I mean, those are like the easiest mechanics to have. The boss charges up an attack and you have to, you know, deal damage to dodge it or whatever else. But I do feel like they're a little old. So I think conceptually, I don't necessarily think reworking QBD or adding an additional QBD is necessarily the way to do it. But I do think the kind of mechanics that are listed there, they kind of remind me of Zami Edicts, actually. In the sense that they have large effects that impact the fight. They get stronger throughout. And to me, like, that was the thing that I liked the most about Zami, is there are so many different combinations of orders you can do that actually impact how the fight feels and how it works. So, like, to me, I'm good with it. Why?
I think, dude, I still don't
Yeah,
really
talk to me.
understand how fucking Zami works. Like, I know I've not killed it that many times, but I really just don't understand. I kind of know what's coming for me, and I go with the flow. And I think I only have like 40 kill counts, so that's probably
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
the reason. But like shit, dude, I literally don't know what any of the edicts do. I don't know what the fucking orders are. Like it's just so over my head.
And then
you know?
sometimes you can get like back-to-back specs and you don't really understand why.
Didn't you
Yeah.
get like a 2K kill with some boys?
Yeah, I know it
And you just
enough.
didn't even know what was going on?
I can kind of
Well,
feel.
okay,
I have a
whenever
feel
somebody-
for it. You
Whenever
know.
somebody picks the edicts for you and is moving the boss around for you and all that, you can just kind of
You can just be
adapt
there.
to what's happening. Over
Yeah,
time
that's
and
what I
get
kind of
used
do.
to-
Yeah.
Get used
Gotcha.
to what somebody else has decided for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that kind of the idea for that was that every edict was supposed to have like you get a benefit and a detriment
Yeah.
added to you. And I think part of why it's sort of weird and confusing for Zamrock and why it didn't work as well as maybe they hoped with like you can pick your own adventure sort of thing is that
It's way too fucking complicated,
well,
man.
that there are maybe too many of them, and the second thing is that some of them are just objectively like way better or way worse than the other ones. So it's like hard to balance something like that where you know one person might like just this completely different way of doing the boss better because there are certain things that you just like kind of almost need to have or need to prioritize.
I think like
Yeah.
I like the idea of edicts. I do think they're complicated. I think the reason why so many
Yeah.
people can't do P7 for the first time on 100% is they don't know that as soon as you get to P7, the edicts swap. So whatever you have charged up once gets charged up 6 times.
Yeah.
So people set it up for an easy 1 through 6 because that's what they learned doing up to 100% because that's the best way to do it before that point. And they get to P7 and they get bodied every time because their defenses don't work and they have executed everything else. So I think from a communication standpoint, not so good.
Yeah, it's
but
There's no indication that happened.
you can, you can see
Well, I
it. You
guess
can look.
hover over the buff bars. and
Well,
stuff.
you can
That's
see the
we
numbers.
really
The
gotta get rid
numbers
of that
swap.
shit where
Oh,
it's
yeah?
like the
Okay.
way you understand how this game works is in the middle of a fight. You have to hover over a fucking buff
No,
and
Yeah, yeah.
It's at the,
No, it is. There is an icon that actually
there's an
shows like the number of charges changes. But the problem with P7 Zami is when you get up there,
There's
you
so much
have
going
to
on, you
instantly
can't-
kill the demon, kill the runes,
Yeah.
and then hit the boss. So like no one's taking
one's
the time to
looking at it,
look up
yeah.
at the boss HP bar to like.
Yeah.
So it just because of the pacing of the fight, like to me the time to do it would have been great to do. What if in the phase transition to P7, instead of just standing there for 8 seconds, there's
There's an
actually an
animation
animation
where
where
they-
you see
yeah.
all your edicts actually swapping.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Why not just
Yeah.
make a little animation?
Oh, that'd be so sick.
they really
That'd be
should have done
tight.
something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think the issue is that, as you were saying,
Yeah.
P7 was kind of not like an afterthought, right? But
They were P7 was the last thing that they worked
yeah,
on.
like they.
Well, isn't that kind of? But how much work did they work on it?
No,
you
like
know?
1 through 6 were done at like every enrage,
Yeah.
and P7 was like an idea when I was playtesting.
Right. So they added it in, and then it just got put in the game in whatever
They,
form.
they basically were like, we want to add more juice to this boss. We want to change it up. We want to do something fun at the end, above a certain rage.
Which was a fantastic idea. I think without P7, it would have been.
Zami
very-
would
Dude,
be.
I think
Very
okay,
underwhelming.
another thing that they
Extraordinary.
really got to think about is when they make these type like Raksha had this problem on release too. I don't know if it's still that way because I haven't done it much. But when they make like a final phase where you really have to fucking move around and shit like that, making like these little corners and stuff is so fucking annoying. I don't know why they have
that
that like.
massive click box on the runes
Yeah.
next to Zami.
Yeah, dude, and like you can't stand next to your teammates, so like trying to like fucking move around, it's like still hard for me. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
positioning yourself to get everything going. It's like,
They are
why do
changing
they
the
have
V-hit
to
box.
put the?
They are
Oh, are
changing
they?
it.
Why do they have to make the last phase on that fucking weird platform? Like, why couldn't it just be an open room? You know, like.
I mean, I think the idea for it is like, or not the idea, but like, once you've learned how to navigate the open room, you got.
It's
Double
not an open
Surge,
fucking
and you
room,
got,
though.
Sorry, once you've learned to navigate the room,
Yeah.
like no matter what the edict order is, you're gonna have a good P7. It's hard to learn because there are all these like craggy bits and whatever else, and like it's not super perfectly, a square box room, but it is like learnable. You just need to approach it the right way, and I think that's kind of the idea.
Dude, it's like a deer antler shape. Like, it's so goofy. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know, like, even in Raksha, like, that back part that's fucked up, I don't know if they fixed that.
Oh yeah.
Like, the back part that's fucked up, like, yeah, eventually I learned how to,
There's like an
deal...
invisible wall that's
Yeah.
like one tile.
Yeah, like, eventually I learned how to deal with this fucked up back wall, but... I didn't like it, and that was a square, we got a fucking deer antler that's like very It was nice that they made it so the bladed dive shit can be done without
Yeah.
like putting on the weapons. That actually made navigating this goofy room like considerably easier. But like I don't know, man. It blows my mind that is how that went.
No, it definitely, it's unintuitive. And like, one of the things that I had that I think they should do to P7 is they should make the ramping up of the bomb way more chill at 100 in rage.
Yeah.
Even if like, for me, the way I said it, like what I suggested, which I don't think they really liked, was just like, for your 100% kill, make it like 5 times slower.
Yeah.
Like, so that you actually have time to figure out what you're doing without having to get hit by a 20k.
And then maybe the rate it gets harder is faster.
But yeah, I mean, I think what they
That
were more
actually
keen
would
to
have been
do.
pretty nice, man. If
Yeah.
that was just like up until 2K, it's like incrementally
Well,
faster.
that's what they wanted to do. They didn't like the idea of just making 100 easier, but they did like the idea of making the ramping way more generous between like 100 and 200 or 100 and 500.
Yeah.
Make it way more slowed down, just so that like, yeah, because right now it's hard to learn. It's not hard once you've got it. It's like super easy. At any enrage, it's easy, but learning it is very annoying for a lot of people.
I remember when we were doing the day one stuff, it felt borderline impossible the first few times we tried it, and then once we had like got enough input from people, figured everything out, it was like a piece of cake, and it was just so much going on and like so much lack of like
It's just
the
not
game
intuitive.
telling
Yeah.
us what to
Can I-
do almost. or-
Can I throw a topic out there?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you guys hope Jagex learned from previous bosses that you hope does not come back in future ones? I think that's a good question.
I think Oops
Ooh,
You're
that does
Dead
not come back?
is pretty
like
bad.
like this was kind of fucked up.
Oops You're Dead.
Like how
Like a
Mirror
Rax
back
web.
mechanic.
Yeah, mirror backs.
Oh, like reflect? Yeah, I don't really like reflect.
I think reflect mechanics are terrible.
I think it's okay at Virago because you can like kind of predict it, but like if you're like bursting out a rotation at Rax and that mirror back drops, like
There's too much like random
Just- you just
damage
die.
shit, man. It's really not good at Virago either. Like aftershock, you know, crackling, like
doesn't-
death touch brace. Like there's just too much like random damage shit to like really have reflex stuff these days. I
And that's
think.
not
Yeah.
even a conceptual thing. That's just like
Actually, you know what my
random
biggest one
stuff added to the game.
Yeah, what's
is?
your biggest one?
My biggest one, I have, as far as I can think, this doesn't exist literally anywhere besides Rago, is boss damage that means something more than, like,
Wait,
Tank a hit.
That's something you don't like?
no, I like
Oh,
that.
I love it too.
Okay,
Yeah.
or we
Wait,
can
what do you
flip
mean?
this question, or things that like you really hope that they like learn that this should be a priority in future bosses. Like I kind of like that too, honestly.
Yeah, like, why is Rago the only boss in the game where taking damage at some point in the fight is something besides just tanking damage?
Because you mean like pushback?
Yeah.
Because the
pushback.
person that made
Tug
it
of War's
left.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also true.
R.I.P. Chris L.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that's the thing that makes Rago unique and stand out. And I think
Although,
every boss becomes a DPS dummy. And Rago is 2 at this point. But yeah, go ahead.
didn't Chris L also make Rax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
There's give and take.
If it's immune to familiar damage,
But to be
and
fair, like-
poison, Chris L
Poison,
made it.
yeah.
So when Rax came out, I doubt mirror backs and webs were as big of an issue as they are now because you weren't like trying to,
You weren't outputting.
you
nearly as
weren't
much
trying to
stuff.
like stall claws into Kane to like kill it,
Something else I was gonna say about Zami and not being super intuitive. In like playtesting and stuff, there wasn't even like an icon to figure out which edicts you charged up. Like there was just no. You'd have to
Oh, really?
you'd have to scroll your camera and look at them and figure out which ones were green and which ones are red.
Wow. Okay.
So like, it was one of those things where like they actually like during the week I was playtesting, like they like basically on off hours time they coded all that and they did all that just because it was like I was having trouble figuring out where I was going and I was like,
Yeah.
look, like this is not going to be so like that whole icon interface thing that like lights up which edicts you've done, that was all added like last second.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's probably my biggest issue with boss design is that you don't need to telegraph every attack from the boss. You don't need to tell the player exactly what to do, but the player should be able to look at what's happening and the thing
Have,
that you're
like-
supposed to do should be like a logical jump.
So-
like
You just want the necessary information.
right, exactly.
I think a good follow-up question is, what do you guys think about normal mode Archglacier then? Like not as like not as a boss to go and
No,
fight, but like for mechanics that aren't super, they're kind of telegraphed, but they're also like, they're very adaptable. They're very focused on teaching.
I think normal mode Arch Glacier was a great idea.
Yeah.
I have 2 issues with Glacier, and
Oh, we effed.
Oh.
Oh, the cam effed again? All right, back
it
to the
actually?
webcam, boys.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys can keep talking, don't worry.
This is so sad.
That's okay.
What was it saying? Oh, I think that Glacier as a learning boss was a fantastic idea. The way that you can like add and remove mechanics is great for new players. It's not too difficult, like there's not too much damage to do. My issue is that they added Enrage for the sake of adding Enrage, which
Yeah.
just turned it into a very spam mechanic boss where you just do the same thing over and over and over again for more and more time as the enrage gets higher.
I don't understand why they didn't cap the HP on that boss.
Yeah,
That seemed
right, yeah.
very
Wait,
unnecessary.
on which boss?
Arch Glacier.
Well, think about how
Like-
easy 4K would have been if HP capped to 2K.
It can make it difficult in other ways.
Yeah, that's
you
what
know
I'm saying. Is that just adding more and more cycles of doing the same thing doesn't. It just makes it more frustrating because.
I think that's why I was like specific asking about normal mode because
Yeah,
like
yeah,
hard mode
but yeah,
obviously
that's-
has a ton of
That's what I was
pitfalls.
gonna.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that my other issue is that normal mode Arch Glacier didn't feel appropriate for Elder God Wars.
I kind of agree.
I think as a standalone design thing, if they did it, it would have been cool. It would have been good for new players. They wouldn't have felt the pressure to make a janky reward system like they did because you couldn't just give players a tier 95 or whatever weapon from some normal mode random boss. I mean, you could, but it'd be kind of weird.
It really does kind of.
So it
not
just
fit.
feels out of place
Yeah.
to me. Well, Croesus, I think.
Crucius was like purposefully out of place though.
Yeah,
It's a little different.
Well, I am a lot less upset about Croesus than I am about Glacier being in Elder God Wars, just because I think it was fine that they wanted to try something completely different, like a whole new lane. Have I ever done Croesus since the day we did it on release? Not once. But like,
Me neither. I have not gone back on my main. I've got however many kills I
Right.
did.
You've done it a fucking million times on your hardcore though.
Yeah,
man.
that's different. That's out of necessity
Yeah.
though. That's
True.
very different.
so yeah, I think that although it doesn't appeal to me, it has its reason,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It could have been different, sure, but like I think that is a lot more. I'm more cool with that. I was upset at the time because it was like Arch Glacier right into Croesus, and it was like, come on.
Yeah, it was like 2 back to back that weren't great.
Yeah,
But
or that like didn't appeal to me specifically at least. So
yeah.
yeah. So I think though, as a standalone boss, I think something like Glacier is great. And the more Glacier type stuff that you add, the more people might have like a pathway to getting into harder stuff, and
I think
then
like
you can start releasing harder bosses too.
Glacier is a boss that makes people better PvMers.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
you are
100%.
if you are new, the mechanics are like perfect for that. So like for me, like I think Glacier was a hugely successful boss. Although I do agree, like for an endgame standpoint, Elder God Wars it seems a little whelming. But I do think like I am guessing it's one of the most done bosses. Like I'm guessing not that many people do Zuck. I'm guessing not that many people do normal mode Carapac, and I'm guessing a ton of people do normal mode Glacier. I just think having
Yeah.
free deaths on the boss too, like they made it
Yeah.
very accessible, and I think they did that in a good way.
And they also made it not unrewarding to do at a casual level, right?
Yeah.
So I think that appeals a lot as well. Because a lot of these harder bosses that they release end up being very underwhelming reward-wise at
Yeah.
any kind of casual level. Like doing 0% Talos is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I agree, and I think one of the things that like their devs have said before, like I think Mod Jack said they're never gonna do like a Telos and Rage scaling again, and I think that's a lot of
What
the
does that
reasoning
mean?
behind it.
What do you mean by that? Tell us and Rage again. 'Cause we
Scaling
just-
in the way that Telos does, where you have to be good at the boss to get drops, and as soon as you're good, you can get a ton of drops. I think from an accessibility standpoint, they view that as a failure.
I
Even
kind of
though
agree. That
I
kinda
don't
makes
dislike
sense.
the scaling of it, but it does. Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's the only reason I like got good at it because I needed to, so I could get the drops on my iron.
Yeah.
You know.
you have to invest time to learn Telos to be able
Which
to
I
come
think
close
is
to getting a
good.
drop. Which,
Yeah.
like, I think
I kind of like it too, to be honest. Like,
no, like I love Telos. Like Telos is a lot of our favorite bosses here. But I know from their standpoint, the way that it was set up made it really inaccessible.
I can see that.
I can see why they think that, but I don't see why that's a problem. Maybe I'm being insensitive, but I really don't see how it's a problem. Like,
Well, I think the issue with Telos is that Telos is like a cliff more than a mountain.
I totally agree.
how
actually
like-
based
yeah, could you
analogy.
explain a little bit?
So with Telos, whenever you get into Telos,
Uh-huh.
sure you might have like a little bit, at like 0% whatever that you can do, but you get to 100% P5 starts. You have to learn like a big jump worth of stuff about the boss
Yeah.
to even consistently kill it at 100%.
Okay.
And then
And again at 1,000.
then you get to 1K and it's another cliff. It's not where like
I
with
see.
Zamorak,
Yeah.
you're climbing up a mountain because it's getting like a little harder every time, but with Telos there are
You
these
have those
clear,
large
like, you
checkpoints,
have
yeah.
to like
Yeah.
jump, so there's
Okay.
more of like it's not so much the skill required is like that high or that much higher, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn it all at once to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's also like an unrewarding cliff too, because
Yeah.
you're not like most people. If you're pushing to the warden title, you're not going to see a single drop
Right.
Yeah.
for that many kills. Where I think one
Also,
of the
it's not like
things-
you can do anything even if you get 1 or 2. You know,
Right.
Like, it's
Yeah,
not-
Yeah,
it's
so
like-
you just get homework. Yeah, getting
Well-
that first green orb at like 200 rage is homework. That's not, it's not a drop. It's work you have to do.
Well, I don't know. It's funny because this is like really like the way that I learned how to do the boss, and I mean, Telos is how I learned how to PvM. I messaged Chris. I was like, "Hey, how do I learn Telos?" And he literally linked me to the PvME rotation, and I went to dummies, did the rot at dummies until I could do it, and then I went into like practice mode 1000% kills until I could get a kill, and then I started pushing from like 170 in rage or something
Yeah.
like that.
Practice them.
Yeah, and like that was how I learned it. So if you start at a baseline of like I'm going to do this the meta way, and then you you go like it doesn't feel as much like you're
Well, that's
climbing
exactly
up a
what I'm
mountain.
saying though with the
Yeah.
cliff.
Yeah,
If you want to learn it the right way, right from the beginning, you have
Yeah.
to learn like 80 things at once.
Yeah.
People
And
just
and then
don't
you get
do
a kill.
that.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like
Yeah.
you're learning like 14 things and then it's like, okay, I can get a kill, but
Yeah.
it's not as good as it could be. You just don't get the kill. Like,
I think adding a thing at a time is a lot better
Yeah.
than and
No, I agree.
with what you said about Telos.
but I think having a slow, reasonable climb to the point where you're at a high level of difficulty for the meta drops makes sense. I think it's good for the game.
Yeah, I think it really depends. I think for like there's a reason why Telos is a lot of our favorite bosses, because once you've actually done that learning, it's very satisfying to master the boss that like bullied you for hours incessantly at first, and
Yeah.
now it doesn't even hit you. You can no food every kill. Like that feels great. But I think what happened is like when they're looking at the numbers of it, it just alienated too many people. Too many people couldn't get over that cliff. They just like even though those that did had a great time, those that like too many people percentage-wise just weren't able to do it or weren't willing to do it or didn't know what to do to get there.
Dude, am I am I an asshole if I think that's like just kind of like a crappy excuse that people make? I really think anyone
I've
can.
always said that anybody can do it, but can is a strong word. I mean, you can do it if you want to put in this time, if you have XYZ gear, if you have this done.
I really don't
think a
think
big
it even
issue
took
is
that
that
much
the-
time. Like I wasn't PvMing before I learned Telos, and it took me like a week to like figure it out.
Yeah, I think a big issue is that like the game doesn't like funnel people into PvM like that. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, first of all, you need a fucking $80 mouse. You know, you need a nice-ish computer just to like
A computer science degree.
to think about this, and then you have to like probably fucking rebind everything. You know, learn how to turn revolution off.
Also, it was probably actually, I think one very large advantage that I'm not acknowledging is having one of the best Telosers in the game as the close friend.
Yeah, like people don't have that. Like,
Yeah.
no.
So, you know.
So I was gonna say while you were saying that, I was like, I don't really agree with that take because you have access to the resources. You're also a
that's true, I
streamer,
did.
So you've got people in your chat that can help you
Yeah,
get better too. Like,
that's
I don't know how. Telos is one boss. I don't know how much any of that shit matters. Like anyone can link you the PvME fucking page for it,
Yeah.
and then it's on you. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, do you enjoy? Did any of you guys enjoy pushing Telos?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Okay,
I
no.
loved it.
Did you enjoy the experience of having a chat that tells you everything you did wrong?
Yeah,
Like,
I did, yeah.
I did.
I mean, it wasn't as much as you, obviously.
I
but,
fucking hated it, dude.
like-
That was like the worst part about pushing Telos. I literally didn't do it for like 3 years because I hated the
It's
backseating.
Dynamite Charger.
Yeah, it's gonna die, but I don't know if
Yeah,
we can
I mean,
go
what
down.
happened for me is like I had a lot of people giving me terrible unsolicited advice, and
Yeah.
filtering through it was awful.
Yeah.
But in the end, like, it did help me improve. But like anytime I would lose a kill, people would be like, "Oh, you lost a kill because this, you lost a kill because that," and most people there had no idea what they were fucking talking about, which was annoying. But what anyone can do is like, I believe at the time this was like right
no
before
way this
EOS came out,
reaches.
it's like 2019 probably. But I had
Peak RuneScape.
Mini Elliott. I think I had Mini Elliott, and I had Rhina in my chat, who are both like good PVMers who I trusted.
You were meleeing.
No, I wasn't
No,
meleeing. I was
no.
maging.
Okay.
It was Mini Elliott.
Oh,
And,
okay.
I
It's a
believe there were two of them.
No,
So
no.
I
I forgot
basically
about Mini
just,
Elliott.
I just said I am not gonna take anyone's advice unless it's those two.
Yeah.
If you guys are around, if you guys want me to do something different, I'll do it. Because you have to kind of filter it. But I loved pushing Telos. That was like my favorite thing that I have ever done in
You
this
guys get to
game.
hold the laptop on.
We might have to go straight that way.
I think once I got like past like 1500%, it
right
was
side.
not the worst experience, but I don't know. I just didn't like it that much, to be honest. It was not very enjoyable.
We can go back to the table.
It was kind of rewarding at the end, but I don't know, man. I actually like the Warden title because it feels like this was like a real fucking mountain I climbed, but it was not a fun mountain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was, my oxygen
Well-
mask was not working, and you know, I
So
was
the-
having trouble breathing up that mountain. You know.
The way I did it, I at some point like on my own I got to like 500% Warden, and then never went back to Telos for like a year or something.
I did the same thing.
And then whenever I was pushing, I like basically at the time I was the lowest 4K kill count, like the lowest Telos kill count for 4K
That's
because
flex.
I just pushed. It's not really even a flex. It's just like I just happened to never do like 0 to 500s that people were doing, or like 999 claims or anything like that. And the whole time I was pushing, I was trying to learn kind of the meta, and I had people like Kava was in my chat a lot. So since I was smaller and didn't attract so many people, I got a lot of help from streaming. I think.
I think it's easy to learn once you know of the resources that exist
Yeah.
and you have people and everything else. And I think the issue that people run into when learning the game is you don't know what you don't know. You don't know which resources exist if you're, you know what I mean? And you're right, like you could hit up the Google machine and be like, RuneScape help, and then maybe someone funnels you to the PvME. But it's like, people don't know where to look. People, you know.
Also, people probably shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that. How do we feel about taking chat questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm up for a little
If
Q&A.
they're hard for you, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, little chat Q&A. This one comes from Track and XC, who is some nobody, right? We don't.
Yep.
we don't-
Who's
Who's
what's
that?
a track XC?
There are no hidden channels in the PvME. And his question is, how do you guys feel about RuneScape player base makes their opinion instantly? If a boss comes out and it's not good, it's dead content. So how do you guys feel about Jagex doing more playtesting to get the boss polished before it comes out?
Yeah,
Do they have the resources?
I think I've
for
said that on stream like a ton.
What do you mean, do they have the resources for
Like, well,
that?
like they've only done it like a handful of times. They like bring people to Jagex and playtest it before.
Well, they stopped doing it after like, I think there
COVID?
was Solak was the last time. My Zami playtest was different because I was already there. We did that because I was already there.
And you were doing your filming and stuff. Right?
Yeah, I was there for something else.
I absolutely think they should be doing playtesting on every boss.
Yeah.
And I think it should be at least like 10 people at different skill levels.
And I mean, I guess you don't have to fly people out necessarily for it, but I mean,
You could do it online, I guess.
Yeah, you
you could
absolutely
make like a
could.
beta client or something and something like that. But then it's harder to keep track of
That's probably security.
NDA stuff. And all
So
that.
they
like-
can't do remote beta client testing. I inquired about it because
Okay.
I was like, look, if I'm gonna come down to playtest something, that's gonna cost you guys like $3,000.
Yeah.
You could also just, so the deal is you need to get Jagex hardware. It's actually, you need hardware.
Really?
You need a Jagex laptop
Wait, why?
to access their testing servers because
Okay.
it's very secure.
Okay.
Also, I'm writing down these questions, by the way.
Yeah, cool, good stuff. And I don't know, they didn't seem super keen for that. And
Could they not just give you a laptop?
sorry,
Could they not just give you a laptop?
did they not or could they not?
Could they not have just given you like a laptop? You know.
Hypothetically, they could have,
could, yeah.
but I don't think they were super keen to.
I think they did that for Mod Lee.
Yeah,
Like
but he was
he had
in-
like a Jagex laptop, and he was over the seas or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, my opinion on this is going to be very biased with regard to playtesting, just because I've had the opportunity to do it a few times. The devs really like it because the devs imagine pouring months or even years of your life into this project, doing 12, 14, 16-hour days, and the only thing you want is you want people to like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
And
like
it gets ripped.
like when I first ran into Sponge and Ramen, they were the two most stressed out human beings I'd ever seen in my life. Just because they're like, does this suck? Are people gonna hate this? Like, is this? It's kind of the same feeling as a content creator when you're like about to do a content piece, or you've worked a bunch on a video and it goes live, or whatever it is. So like, to me, it doesn't. I don't care who it is. It doesn't need to be me. But I think having people in to give them focus groups and feedback groups, I think it's good for the devs, and I also think it's good for the quality of the product launch. Because like, if Zammy had come out without like Sam and I playtesting it, 100% it would have been a worse boss.
Yeah.
Like P7 was just one hit.
Yeah.
You could have summored it every time. Like that would have come out as P7.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
Washley in the chat. Oh my god.
Hi, Dad.
Which one?
Wait, do you think like
The RS guy out of everything.
they could though? Couldn't they just give like a handful of laptops out to some people? You know.
I mean, I'm sure there are complications to that. I'm sure there's security stuff with that, and I'm sure like, I don't know. They like to have control over stuff. So to me, I think it's way more likely that they would fly people down. I know they stopped because of the pandemic as well in part, but I'm really hoping that we do it again because like all the feedback that came out of the Zammy playtest stuff, all the feedback was like, this was really valuable.
That would be another gatekeeping thing. Like I'm part of the playtest team. That would be so funny.
To be honest, I wouldn't like to playtest. I like doing the Zammy race. I would prefer to not playtest.
So
Like
I mean,
me personally, I want someone
Like,
to do it,
you
but
wanna
I
be-
don't want
You
to
want
do
to
it.
be part of the release, not part of the,
Yeah.
the planning. Yeah.
But I want someone else to do
Yeah.
it.
so alternatively, would people feel differently about playtesters if those playtesters were mods?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that if I go as a streamer, that's kind of fucked up, but if I go and it's like, hey, I'm Mod Ryan 2 now, and I'm a playtester.
Oh, do you mean? Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
No, probably
You know what I
not.
mean?
No,
Would people see
I
that
thought you meant
differently?
like, do I prefer if it's you playtesting the boss compared to Sponge playtesting the boss?
No. I meant like, if you give those playtesters positions, does that
Oh.
change? Does that change the way the public perceives it? Because to me, like the shit I get this all the time. It's like, oh, this is streamer privilege. This is content creator. Like, this isn't. He shouldn't be the person doing this.
What
but
is
then,
your privilege?
Oh no, I
but
think
then
you
a
just,
content creator gets hired to be a mod, which like could happen at some point. And don't look at me like that, Mel.
I'm thinking it'd be kind of funny. Like,
And I feel like then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is normal now. But it's like every single Jagex mod was a player. They literally were all just passionate players that
I
started
think you
doing
should
stuff.
just ignore people saying. I think that's just a dumb take.
I think it's
Well,
super
you already take the hit, and you can't be a part of releases up to certain amounts.
Yeah.
You can't. Like,
they could. What's it
it's
called?
not
They-
like you get like insider information about like G trades that you're gonna make and stuff.
Yeah,
so
no,
it's
no.
not like that. I mean,
You're kind of in a unique situation where you have like this like independent contractor relationship sort of
Yeah.
thing quite regularly with Jagex. They could just make you like an I mod instead of a J mod or something. You know what I'm saying?
What's
Make
an
this.
I mod?
It's like the independent contractor relationship, and they could like if they kind of thought about this sort of thing, they
I'll be
could
honest, I
kind
thought
of.
that was a DN joke.
I did too. I was scared. I was about to be like, I mod these nuts into your faces. I was like, wait a second.
No, they could like kind of make like a whole separate category of people who have like a special relationship with them, because like JMods kind of are a little like what's the word for it? Like held in, you know, or like they
Yeah.
can't like be as like free about everything as like we are. You know what I'm saying? So Jags treats us differently than they do like their JMods, because they know these JMods are gonna get like fucked if they do something like kind of out of the bounds of what they want their people to do. But they can kind of make like a different sort of dynamic and thing, you know, like you get these privileges and you have these kind of like restrictions on if you want these privileges on what you get to do. Like one of them would be something like you can't fucking PvM on bosses on release, you know,
Yeah.
but you get to try it before. And they could, if they like sat down and kind of thought like, okay, if we give these guys a laptop, then they have to like provide us this personal information and this like route for like recourse if they do something goofy with the privileges that we give them, you know? And if that was a situation, they could probably think of a more dynamic way of including like key players in the process of like development and stuff.
I mean, for me, like that, I think that would be good, but I think you can even go easier, right? I don't think
probably-
Jagex
you probably
wants to,
could.
Jagex
I
doesn't want to
definitely-
change their systems the way they've done things in the past. So why not just have a mailing list of people that are local to Cambridge who play RuneScape? Like Finna literally lives 10 minutes away from Jagex HQ, and he's never been invited to playtest anything.
Never.
Really?
It's a 10-minute walk or drive or whatever.
And he's
like,
been to like Jagex before, right?
no,
Just not to play
he
test.
literally just showed up at the door and took a picture there. Like, he wasn't allowed it. Like he didn't. He could have.
That's pretty absurd.
But anyway, that's like
Pod Mall, yeah.
it's one of those things where like
Like that.
there are people local. Like they don't even need to worry about the liability of getting people like streamer laptops for playtesting. Like they could genuinely just bring local people in for this stuff. It's just yeah. Anyway, I think it would be good. I think more playtesting is better because RuneScape players are a little quick to form
Yeah,
opinions
that's
on
true.
things.
Yeah. And not apprehensive about sharing them.
Yes. But you also like you want stuff to come out that feels polished too,
Yeah.
right? Like when's the last time something came out on the PVM scale that didn't need to be
Never.
tweaked or
First week,
fixed? Like, can you even think of
laundry
one?
list of
Dude,
patches.
has that happened in any MMO ever? Like it doesn't, you know? Like
Well,
you know?
Like just go back through the bot. Like go from like Solak. Solak Grim had to be changed.
so like had a lot of fucked up shit. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
like
mean,
the
the whole
boss
fight
has been
changed,
changed like
too.
8
Yeah.
times.
Well, I mean, P2, you had to go through every spec the whole time, like for the whole phase.
Yep.
And then you've got ED2, the drop rates had to be changed a bunch. They had to reduce Astelarn's HP in half because it was so bugged and they couldn't fix it. Blackstone Dragon has a lore phase. Going through
Did they ever change that?
No.
Is it still- okay.
ED3, well, you can skip it now in a solo because there's so much
Yeah,
power
right.
creep, so it's
Okay.
fine. But
By out DPSing, but no, there's no like actual.
I mean, ED3, I don't know if they tweaked anything with ED3 actually.
I don't know.
I think ED3 might be the only one that they didn't change anything. They've changed the drop rates.
Didn't you
but-
guys playtest ED3? No.
We
it was-
playtested
Oh, it was
ED1.
ED1. Okay.
But
You know, did you guys never say like these rewards are garbage? Like when ED1 came out?
oh, we didn't see any of their awards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
What was it?
We
It
were-
was like just like slightly more damage to
Okay.
rank. That was it. Like
Here's-
that's all that came out with ED1,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
So here's the tea about the ED1 playtest. They had scheduled a huge playtest for Theater of Blood. They were flying down like 15 old school creators at least. It was like this huge deal. It was this big setup. And then they were like, wait, shit, we have 2 games. We got another game. We could just like, so then they invited 5 people to come down from RS3 as well. And it was like, they basically told the team like, we're gonna have RS3 players down, same weekend, makes sense, which is cool. But like ED1 was not playtesting ready at all. It was like Seiryu was not done. We didn't get to play Seiryu at all really. Like you could just attack the HP, but like the crystals and none of that was done. So we were basically just testing the concept of the dungeon more than anything else. There was Masuda and there was Crab, Rave Boss, and that was sort of. But like we weren't really like we were there to playtest ED1, and give feedback on it, but like we weren't there because that was like the perfect time for there to be an ED1 playtest. Like
Right.
it was not ready for
You
that.
just got tagged on to something else. that was
Yeah,
never
which was cool. Like it was nice that they thought of RS3 and were like, wait, we can invite some Telos juicers here. But it wasn't like we didn't have a chance to give feedback on Seiryu or any of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff had to be tweaked post-release.
Do you have any more chat questions?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite ones to bring up on talk, or like I like seeing people talk about on talk shows. What do you guys think about ability stalling?
I think it's goofy, man. I don't like it.
I think it's such a cool mechanic that can be abused in such fun ways.
I think that because you have so little to do while you are not attacking a boss, it can make that nice. but I do think some of it's a little goofy.
Like Excal stalling should totally not be.
Yeah, I don't like it, man. I have a blade dive macro. It's fucking hard to put on an Excalibur. Like, I thought that shit was goofy.
The BD macro and the dual wield macro,
I think
like fighting. Yeah.
I think like a double incend, like
Yeah, like stalling incend for a full minute before a fight.
yeah,
like,
and then I think that's a little funny.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I think ability stalling is one of like the 3 forms of skill expression we have in the game, right? So like,
But is it even hard? That's the thing. Is it hard or is it annoying? Like, is it like it's not hard to learn how to stall something. You click on your Excalibur and then you put on your staff and then you click.
Like I think
the difficulty comes from
Knowing when to use it.
knowing how to use it at opportune times. Like,
yeah.
say you have 5 ticks or something that a boss is doing something where you can't damage it, you could stall something.
Or like,
You know, like it's stuff like that where
Like when
it
you-
is sort of skill.
yeah. Or when you make a rot and you're like trying to figure out like, okay, which one is like mathematically the best option? Like stall claws here, stall cane, because like, you know, you're not going to get the last tick hit of claws, so you have to work it out or something like that, you know? So not so much the execution itself, but like the decision-making process that goes into it.
I think the way it works though is extraordinarily goofy.
Yeah.
The only kind of way I like it is if like the boss is too far away from you, so you press an ability and then it kind of like stalls
and then it
it.
still goes through.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it exists for, right?
Yeah,
That's the
right.
only reason stalling exists,
Yeah,
is
that's the
so that
reason.
if you're meleeing out of MD, your character just doesn't like lose its mind and break. Like that's the only thing that stalling was supposed to be for, is so that you can fire an ability, run in and use it.
Yeah, well, a stalled ability is just the ability hasn't come out yet because you're out of range and you're running in.
Yeah.
But they didn't. When they did that, they didn't think, what about if you
Relatable.
stop running in?
If they got rid of it, I would like to see a much more complex and interesting form of skill expression take its place.
Yeah. I just.
Leave that company for a second.
Okay.
I need Oreo.
Ah,
So what's the next
understandable.
question?
Yeah.
The next question is, this one was from Ralph.
Okay.
Since you're not a Telos fanboy, like,
The rest of the panel.
well, I guess no, that's not either. So both of you. He wants to know, what are some of your favorite PvM experiences or memories?
Oh, do a hard mode, man. Like all the experiences I've had with that, kind of the fucking getting to the first kill was a fucking pain in the ass. But after I did, you know, like
I also want
like
an Oreo.
going with people, and you know, like there was a lot of people I did attempts with, but I fucking sucked, so I didn't get the kill. And I think
If you had to think about it, how many auras did you go through?
a lot. Dude, you know what else was a pain in the ass? It was you could only use runic for a lot of the time that I was learning that, and there was only 1 order refresh a day. You know, so you would be like locked till, I mean, I guess 4 hours is kind of a lot to fucking do it, but
A couple attempts a day, and that's it.
yeah, it was.
But whenever it's 1 out of 6 weeks that you're doing, and
Yeah.
that on top of it, it's like.
I don't know. I think duo hard mode was probably just like the funnest sort of PvM stuff there is, you know, throughout history of PvM for me.
I
guess.
don't know if you guys know, but I got VIT at 96 KC.
Nice.
Like, it was a P5 random drop, got it, quit Roggo for a year, flexed on everybody and said, suck my nuts. And then it was that slow progression of like, wait, I can learn how to PvM. And so I heavily got into Roggo. But this was the same time that like Cairo and I met, and we both kind of came on the scene together, but he kind of went his Telos way and I kind of went the Roggo way. And shit, it was like a matter of like, when am I gonna solo P5? And then boom, I got placed on the sheet. It was like 7th or whatever. And then it was a matter of, when can
After
I
the non-Roggoer.
yeah, he actually got it before me because I just wasn't interested in any of that. But it was more of like other people believing in like, no, Mac, dog, you're good enough to do these things. Go do it. And then it became a matter of, okay, when am I gonna solo the full kill? What?
They're calling you Giga Chad, man.
Everyone in Jets.
Everyone's
Big chat.
No fucking way.
Someone said doesn't speak for 30 minutes. First thing he says is him being Chad.
And so it was like, it was seeing my journey of like not being a PVMer to like being a more known Roggoer.
Can you repeat the question, actually?
What was
It's like
your-
what your favorite.
What was fun, memorable?
Okay, yeah, probably like the most single moment that was like the biggest whoa was when I got my Vitalis. That was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
I had spent like 3 months doing Virago all day, and I only needed Vitalis to get IFB, and then it just randomly fucking. I mean, I guess that's how it goes. It just
Yeah.
randomly fucking
Shows
happens
up
at
one
some
time.
point.
I still fucking flex 96 KC Vit. Like,
That's still your Twitter pin, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is that. I don't think I'm ever gonna have a single more Pog moment than the moment I got a bit, dude. Who the fuck works? Okay, it was like a year getting all the other bosses, and then I gave up on Virago until the threshold came out. And then for like 3 months, that's all I did all day, and then I got it. You know, I don't think that experience is ever gonna happen again. So, you know,
I liked you calling me a Solak pet.
that was kind of
Ah,
cool
yeah.
too. I've had a lot of like cool little moments. There was one time where the way I got the Solak pet was like 13 KC. I think someone said something like, "I'm gonna get this." I'm like, "I'm gonna get the Solak pet," and then I clicked it and I got it. I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" That was pretty cool.
I think I was on that team.
I think you were
I think I
too.
was, yeah, I remember that.
All right, another viewer question is, do you think prayer switches / flicking adds unnecessary complexity to RS combat?
I think that's part of it, man. Like that's just like so integral into RuneScape, you know.
I think
It's
Soul
also-
Split made it a little weird for.
Soul Split's broken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because compared to old school prayer flicking is very different.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like people.
Yeah, but like
Accept
prayer
it
points
more.
are like a thing in old school that you have to consider. Like your stamina and your prayer points
Yeah.
are like actual like things you consider because they just don't have as much shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's also like, what the fuck would you do during GCD if you didn't have other things going on, you know? Like, I don't know.
Check your health.
One
look
thing-
at food, look
One
at-
thing about prayers that I don't like is why the fuck do you have to switch turmoils, man? Why can't there just be like one?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fair, yeah.
You know, it just makes the macros unnecessarily complex. You know, like I noticed that like
Actually,
with the
buttons
with the
are mean.
hybrid macros, like once you get past 4, it starts fucking up, like the
Yeah.
5th one. So I was like, well, which one do I want to fuck up the most? And I guess like sometimes my boot swaps don't go through. You know what
I
I'm
have
saying?
a
You just
real-
gotta make
I've
better
got-
macros, man.
I have a very hot take for you, Mel.
Yeah.
My hot take is if the macro, like if you're, they cannot possibly change the game to make your over 4-way macros work better. Just learn how to hit the
Bro,
buttons.
if they're gonna make
Just hit
hybrid,
the buttons.
if they're gonna make hybrid
Just run
like
your hand over
such
the
a
keyboard.
thing though, they really should just make hybrid like a fucking thing.
I'm gonna
know?
be honest, man. I got a 20-way and 1 tick to work before. I think he's just making bad macros.
Okay, so if you're talking about a while ago, it was a thing. I can't remember if it was Mod Pi or who did it, but they added more buffer for inputs
Oh,
or something
okay.
at some point.
So
It's
there
very-
was an actual
it was
issue where it
very
couldn't.
recent,
Okay,
like,
okay.
There was a point in the game where if you did more than like 6 or 7 inputs at a time, the game would just like not register them.
Dude, okay, I was like, I want to stream, and then I was like, oh fuck, I guess we have to hybrid Zammy now, so I have to
Yeah.
like make these macros, and I didn't want to like spend more than an hour making them, so I made it, and the boot sometimes didn't go
You
on.
are garnering absolutely no sympathy for me. Because I spent an entire night learning 7-way switch hybrid binds, and it took.
Oh my god,
Ryan,
that was
be
yeah.
real
That
here,
was when
man.
you
Like,
and I were trying to figure
wouldn't
it
you
out.
prefer if it just wasn't that way? Like if you could just press like F5 and now all your melee stuff
I
is
think
on?
some of it should be made more integrated and easy, like you said with like the turmoil prayer. Or
Yeah.
something.
2-to-1s, like stuff like that. But,
Yeah.
like,
But like, why? Why do you want to press 4 buttons to put on your melee top helm boots? You know, like,
okay, because I feel like. if
wouldn't you
you're-
rather put your brain power on the like other?
It's not brain power though.
It is kind of brain power though.
It is.
You're
until
telling me it's
comfortable.
brain power to hit a button on my mouse and then go QWRT.
The whole game is pressing buttons, my
That's
friend.
not brain power though. It's just like it was a thing I had to learn, and I feel like macroing it would skip the learning process, and it's really satisfying now.
By
Like,
the
I
way,
wouldn't feel at all satisfied. I wouldn't feel satiated, Mel,
Mm-hmm.
if I just hit one button and it just did it all for me. You know what I mean? Like I have no issue with people that macro or choose to
Mm-hmm.
macro, but like for me personally, it didn't feel. It felt kind of cheating, man.
I
I'm
would-
not gonna lie.
I would- I
It was
would-
like if the whole difficulty of the game is hitting the buttons, and you've got a program that hits the buttons for you.
I would. Okay, you said that it's not like brain power to do that. I kind of agree, but like it's not brain power when you don't have to like think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you could like focus on. Man, it's so fucking annoying. Like imagine if you just didn't hit your top switch like on accident. Like wouldn't that be like annoying? You know? And now.
Well, but the other argument is that when you are doing the inputs on your own, you can like adapt to situations like that. If your macro fails, it's a lot more annoying to put your top on than it is.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
If you just click the button,
If
yeah,
you're
yeah.
That's
hitting
fair.
the buttons, you're like, oh, my top's not on. You should put your top on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
Oh.
Okay, he's not
But
completely
I
wrong.
also don't use any macros ever, so I don't.
Let's go based.
Yeah, I'm like
See-
the exception, I guess.
I don't use any.
Yeah, right.
My thing of like when I went through the phase of like the 2-day ban, and I was like, well, I guess I can't use.
Didn't you do
macros
like
anymore.
a fucking skilling macro though? That's different. You were like botting.
Well, there's
Pyro cut skilling,
Wait.
macroing.
what?
What did you get banned for?
All right. Well, so no. Here's why I'm like pretty certain I got banned because of the video. Because the date of the offense on the ban was a day that I was out of town. So like I wasn't even like logged in playing RuneScape. So I have a feeling that they saw the video and then banned me.
What you think? Oh,
Contextualize the video. So I know what the video is. What was the video?
I made an AHK guide for PvM macros.
but you didn't. But were you also doing
Full
like some
censored.
like skilling bullshit?
Public on YouTube.
Public on YouTube with his RSN in the shop.
Yeah.
And it had a paste bin in the description of the YouTube video for all of his macros. You
Yeah.
just copy paste them. I cannot believe you were surprised you got banned.
I wasn't surprised. I'm pretty sure I said I'm probably gonna get banned in the video.
Yeah.
No, I remember when it came out, and like, everybody was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
No, I know.
yeah. But no, what I'm saying is after I got that ban, I was like, okay, I probably shouldn't use these macros anymore. So I went out and I bought a number pad, right? And like basically what I did was I made it so that anytime I had to do hard shit, I just dragged my finger across the number pad, and it didn't feel like I was like had any more skill in PvM because I'm dragging my fucking pointer
Wait,
finger
you
across.
stopped macroing?
Yeah. For all of my Zami push to 4K, I had no macros.
You supplied the entire RuneScape community with illegal macros and then stopped using them.
Yeah, and like to me, and then
like a fucking
and then
bait, dude.
when the thing came out
Get
where they were
fucked,
like,
idiots.
we don't care if you macro or whatever, which obviously they don't have control over what the
Yeah.
rules are, but that's just their opinion. I was like, okay, I'll use them again because like this number pad's annoying. But like personally, the skill expression didn't feel any different dragging my index finger across my number pad compared to like pressing F1. You know?
That's fair. Like for me, when I dual wield, right, I just use my thumb and I hit 2 buttons on my mouse at the same time. It's like, is that actually functionally more skillful than having a macro that does it? No, it just frees up.
Yeah, exactly.
So like,
Which is important because this game has more fucking keybinds than any other game in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
it's like flying a plane.
Yeah.
Amount of buttons.
This is like, I think I literally quit playing guitar when I started playing like RuneScape, you know, because of how this fucking, all the keybinds, you know, I was like, well, this kind of feels like playing an instrument, you know?
By the way, actually, this is funny. So this is where I think macros can get to a point where like it does kind of like bleed into like you're taking the skill out of the game, because Seared was asking what my 20-to-1 was. This was just like a thing I wanted to test. And what it was a SGB cast into a full melee switch, stall a melee ability, release into a full mage switch mage ability. Because I wanted to do a rainbow one tick QBD.
I hate that kind of macro.
Yeah.
That's the kind of macro that I don't like.
I was just kind of messing around with it just to like see, but I would never like do something like that and then post a video and be like, look at this cool achievement that I wrote a script for, you know? But yeah, I think you certainly can go too far.
I think that is like the
That is
most
too far.
extreme
Yeah.
macro I have ever heard in my life. Except for the dude that had a P5
Yeah.
Telos rotation.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a guy who made like an AI that did Telos? Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
apparently there
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a dude that has been botting Telos for like since like 2016 or 2017, right when it came out. Mm-hmm. Was like and like has been botting Telos just straight up. It's just, but yeah, I think it's a gray area, a lot of it, but
Yeah.
stuff like that, like I know for sure that's too far. Even like the Solak macros. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but a lot of the Solakers. what
That's
they
how
do
it started, really.
is
That was the big hybrid switch, man.
they have a hybrid button, but then there's also
The prayer
not
checker?
to throw anybody under the bus here, but others may have some expertise in this and how this works. But to my understanding, it does image detection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It detects if you have what class of weapon you have in your main hand, and then it auto switches your prayer to go with the right combat style. To me, that's a bot. Like to
I
me,
mean,
that's too far.
it should. I think Terminal should just work like that, but you know, like.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Like, if it did, I agree. They could just, you never want to be on range turmoil when you're meleeing. But to me, that's like in all the Solak records, like they have image detection software running to make sure their prayer is always perfectly in line with their gear. And to me, that's a bot. Like that's not a PvM macro. That's not a, oh, I'm running out of keybinds. Like that's some shit right there.
I actually, funny enough, I do. I think the image detection on the prayer is too far. Yeah, and image detection on EOFs is too far. So I've written them and I've tested it, but I personally don't use them because I agree. I think it's too far. Like in my
I hate them and they're immoral, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do make them and distribute them.
Slangs them for like.
yeah, it is. But
Yes, officer, that one right
I don't know.
there.
It's funny because like in my Solak VODs, like you can see me like clicking my hybrid prayer all the time, like to turn on the right ones and stuff.
Yeah, to me, all that stuff's too far. Like, I think that, because it shouldn't be what skill expression is. Like, I would love it if the skill expression was dealing with a boss's mechanics, but it's not. Like, it's actually just hitting the buttons. So when you have something that hits a bunch of buttons for you, that's just like, that's too far.
Oh, dude, I'm getting they're like the image detection too far. 20-1 is the 20-1 was for the it was purely testing purposes. I don't use 20-1s on a general like daily basis. I was just fucking around.
I actually did something that was way too far.
What did you
Do you guys want a story, or is this like I don't want to like make look like a criminal on the PvME stream?
If you were to hypothetically have done it,
Yeah, sure. Hypothetically, okay. So there's a boss on Old School called the Nightmare, and
Oh, I know.
this boss, like, you fucking prayer flick every like attack, right? And there's no like keybinds for fucking prayers in this game, and all the books are on top of each other. So pretty much, I did image detection AHKs. So I could keybind my prayers because there's a phase in the boss fight where the prayers switch around, you know? So like if you press melee prayer, it's mage prayer. So I don't know, I did a thing where it was like, my keybinds for my prayers in RS3 were my keybinds for prayers in Old School. So I could like keep my inventory open at all times and I could flick around through prayers. I only did this for like a week before I was like, this is disgusting. This is not good. And then I quit the boss, but you know, like that was very illegal.
Yeah, just a little bit. Anyone else have any confessions while we're here?
I'm a Christian.
Yeah, I don't really macro. It's just that one as a raw goer, I have to have a macro.
I make a lot of
It's
macros
just
and
that
I
one
use a
macro
ton of
that-
them at dummies, but generally, you know, when I'm PvMing most of the time, I'm actually not really using any of them.
It's still so ridiculous.
It's just fun.
I've helped people write macros.
Yeah.
But I've never used one, like never once.
I'm
This
a
is
bad
like
boy.
The underground RuneScape, like I have like no, I do absolutely nothing with them.
Yeah. I just think they're not necessary. But
That's
I
too
don't care if you
funny.
That's a good point.
Washi says, I wish I had anything best. You were invited.
Yeah, true. Do we have any non-macro related questions?
Yeah, anyone have any questions that aren't gonna get us arrested?
If my Old School account gets banned tomorrow, I'm gonna fucking laugh.
Damn.
Yeah,
Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Any more chat questions you want
Yeah,
to
we're waiting. There's a bit of stream delay, and we've got the worst internet in the world, so.
True.
Any chat questions? Raise your hand if you macro clue scroll sliders, be honest.
Wait, you can do that?
You can do that?
There are programs that'll do that for you.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've ever done a
There
clue
was-
before.
I won't say who, but there was an Iron Man who like wrote a program to do them for you and was like selling it to people.
Dude, they need to clean that up. It's bad. Like, they really need to have a stance on them so that, oh, that's nuts. It's triple Dylan, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying
think
to
it
start
is
beef with them. I'm
actually.
trying to start beef with them. No, I'm kidding. Dylan, much love.
It was definitely him.
Yeah, totally. Please master. No, don't do that. Yeah, any chat questions? Anything else you want to hear about in the always in chat?
What's up?
I'm not really seeing anything, to be honest.
Yeah, no. Yeah, any other PvME summit questions? Do you guys want a place tour?
That would be fun.
We could.
There's a lot of places to tour.
Do you want to tour our?
Maybe we should clean that up though.
No, leave that. That's,
Yeah, no.
I think
That's
that's great. We should just leave that.
how short is Ryan compared to the tallest? We can do that if
Oh,
you
you
guys
guys want
want.
to
We can
stand
do a
up?
height
That'd be
check.
kind of fun.
Yeah, get up.
Definitely taller.
Oh, he's wearing shoes too. You guys are all wearing shoes.
I'm
My
not.
shoes?
Dude,
No.
Vans barely give you
Chat's
any
gonna be-
height.
It's like literally
Yeah,
a
it's-
quarter inch.
Chad's gonna be weird about it.
I don't know. I mean, Ryan's pretty tall, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty tall. I mean, to be fair though.
Are we even in frame anymore?
Probably not.
Probably
I don't know.
not.
I can check here. Or you can check if you want.
Well, I can do it to you too.
Yeah, of course. We're the same height.
Are you guys really?
Yeah.
No, you're taller than me.
Oh, really?
100% you're taller than me.
Dude, I like this angle because I look the
Barely.
same height as
It's like
Chris.
honestly really close.
Right, the camera angle is not
Yeah, this is.
the
All
height.
right, hold on. We
You
gotta.
can grab the webcam. It's just the webcam on top.
Oh,
You
is
can
it?
just grab it.
Yeah.
We just gotta.
No, just pull the whole fucking
No,
webcam
just
off
grab the
of
webcam.
it.
It's not-
Just the webcam.
Yeah. There you go.
Because my camera died.
Point. Whatever you
Hello
want.
there.
Yeah, there's the height check.
Height check.
Yeah.
There we go.
Alright, I'm gonna make people sick holding this though.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. They can do the shaky cam. I mean, I'm sure the place tour is also going to be shaky cam.
Yeah.
Should we fire up the good camera for like the 5 minutes it's going to take?
Sure.
The hot tub.
I may as well. All right, chat. We're going dark for a sec, and then we'll be back
Yeah, I
for
kind of do.
an exclusive house tour.
I'm like going home after this, showering, and then coming back. But I'm gonna bring extra clothes with me. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wait. It wasn't turned off
Yeah.
that whole time,
You
so
said
it's
at 8,
still
right?
like battery exhausted.
Daniel,
Is it like
at 8?
dead? Dead? We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's still dead.
Yeah. It shouldn't take
I
me
think
too long
so.
to go home.
We might
so
have
can
to
just come
webcam
back.
it.
That is okay.
Yeah.
If that is what it comes down to.
No, more actually. Yeah, I checked how long it would take to go from here to my house.
Okay,
It was
yeah,
like
that's
40
fine.
minutes.
Okay,
Yeah, but nothing
let's
I
go
can't.
on a little tour. Oh, that's so scuffed.
That's the webcam still?
You know what we should have done?
What?
Okay, yeah, the webcam is on the floor. This is. The
Oh,
webcam
yeah,
that
go
is
ahead and
on
grab
the
it.
floor. I'm just gonna grab it. Okay, cool.
Hold on, I'll unplug
Chat.
this. Ugh. All right.
What can I unplug? I guess I need the mics
can-
plugged in. I can
you-
unplug my laptop though.
Probably don't need all the mics.
That's not bad. Now we'll keep them. Okay, cool. And then, how long are the? Oh, that's actually fine. Okay, cool.
Chilling.
Okay, cool.
Wait, you're gonna walk around with the laptop?
Yeah.
That's how it's powered.
Yeah. Well, if I had internet, I'd just use my phone and use video, which is sick. But okay, cool.
Can you clip the camera onto the laptop? Or?
I could, but it's gonna be shaky anyway. I'm sorry, chat. Hold.
You can help carrying one of those vehicles, or?
It'll be okay. Oh, that's scuffed. No, I'm just gonna carry it. Okay, cool. If you want to carry the laptop, you're welcome to. All right, so yeah, however you want, we can just kind of go around. We have a fireplace. That's pretty cool. We have a TV that we can't get to work, and another TV that we can't get to work.
TV is like the only speaker we have, and it's blown out. Like
We will figure it out. We have it came with a plant, which is pretty cool. I might bring that home with me though. And then behind Mel, we've got a pool and a hot tub and a little fountain, which is like pretty extra. And then if we want to go to the kitchen, this is, you're gonna see evidence of crimes, but it's, no, it's all good.
What do you mean? There's nothing illegal going on
No,
here?
everything's good. Everything is super good.
Just snacks and alcohol, you know?
Yeah, lots of snacks.
Standard stuff.
Just like 2 ovens and a toaster oven, just like normal standard stuff.
Coffee machine.
Yeah. So you said it's a $6,000,
$6,000 coffee.
and we didn't even buy coffee. Well, we have like drinkable coffee. We don't have like we don't have coffee we can use in the machine. And then we've got a little outdoor patio and like a little dinner table and a barbecue. Is it not a barbecue? Is that
No,
not
I'm
the word?
reading the chat.
Oh, what's chat saying? What's chat saying?
Finis asked if I brought my magic cards. I didn't.
Mel was going.
Mel had magic cards in his room when I was at his
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And then this is the front of the place.
Would you play Magic?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
No?
Super no. And then we'll also, these stairs are so sketchy. They're like marble stairs, and the distance on them is like a little higher than normal. But yeah, we can pick a room to go into. How many bedrooms? It's like a 5. It's like a 5 bedroom.
And they all have like actual bathrooms.
Aaron, can we go in your room?
Yeah.
Right? Which one is it?
Yeah, it's on. There's nothing illegal in there. I
There's
swear.
nothing illegal anywhere in here. Hello?
Also, someone asked
You've
if.
got a fireplace in here?
Yeah.
Wait, go on the closet.
The closet's like a whole other room.
Bro, I've had apartments smaller than this closet. Like, dead ass. That is ridiculous.
Have you seen the bathroom yet?
No,
Oh
no,
my
let's go.
gosh, the bathroom's ridiculous.
Let's go. We've
Oh,
got,
also, someone asked. Wait, where was it?
balcony.
I can't find it. Oh, if you had the ability, how would you get people into PvM?
Who, me?
No, I guess anyone.
Okay, yeah, that shower.
Right? I was just,
What?
yeah, like it's so big. I was just standing in the middle and I'm just
Oh,
like,
and you have the actual ring.
yeah, and then there's windows
Here,
and I'm like,
grab
I
the
wonder.
camera. We'll do a
Yeah.
just a height of this. Here,
Okay.
I'll just here. What?
Hold on.
That is obscene.
Hold on, we gotta back up even more.
That is actually obscene. This is a nice bathroom.
Yeah, it was quite fun to just stand in this massive
that's
shower this
actually
morning. It was kind of
unreal.
cold, even though the water was hot. Like, you know?
Unreal. Okay, well, that's a place tour. I guess we can say bye in a little bit. Yeah, there are 5 bedrooms and they all look the same and they all have little balconies, so you're not missing a whole lot. So yeah, are we calling it?
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
I think we'll call it a night.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to the first annual, we can say up here, PvME Summit. That may not be annual and may not be a summit. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. Very much appreciated. And yeah, we will catch you again soon. Maybe.
Later, boys.
Maybe
Not
for
that, my
watching.
bad.
And then you can just do stop streaming. It'll probably take a minute. There, and then we'll do that too.